Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 19th episode, I believe, of the Irrelevant Podcast. We're mixing things up a little bit today. I am here joined by my old friend from New Orleans, Ethan Blow, who is in the military right now. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we went to what was it? Elementary school together, and then
Yeah.
yeah, now we're here. So,
Yeah, what the fuck, dude? I feel like I'm in 7th grade still. It's like weird,
bro,
you
I feel
know?
like I never grew up. Like my body aged, and like I never mentally did.
I got you. Yeah.
So
I don't know if I'm
it's just
exactly
weird.
on the same page, but I see what you mean.
Like I feel
Um,
like I've evolved, but like I feel like the way I think, the way I like act is more grown. But like as far as like I don't know, just like how I feel. Like I don't feel how old I am. You know what I mean?
I got you. I guess that's just the memes, you know.
Like I'm fucking 20, bro.
Already? What
20
the
years
hell?
old.
Oh
I
wait,
almost
didn't you
hit
get?
20 years old.
Did you get held back? Is that why?
Yeah, yeah. I got held back before I
Ah,
even
yeah.
went to the school that we met at.
Where did you go before Holy Name?
I went to Audubon Charter School.
Ah, how is that?
Well, obviously I got held back, so not that great.
Right.
It's a totally different style of learning when I was
I
there. I don't
get
know
you.
if they've since changed, but when I was there, it was like you learn at your own pace,
I see.
which just didn't work.
I got you. I can imagine it's probably worse now. I don't know for sure, but I'm just gonna make an educated guess and say that it is.
Like, I hope not, bro, because they did not help me. There was no structure there. I didn't feel like there was actual any real teaching. It was like almost like teaching yourself. It felt stupid.
Yeah, I mean it works for some people, but not for everyone, and that's fine. So I remember, for those who don't know, Ethan and I, yeah, so we went to from like 3rd grade to 7th grade or something together. The joke was that Ethan would never do his homework. I remember that.
Still got through high school doing the same exact thing. Never did
Oh,
homework.
you were doing the same thing, man.
Hell yeah, dude.
Oh,
Never change.
that's cool. I mean, what kind of grades did you get, if you don't mind me asking?
So my first year there, eighth grade, I did pretty good. I did like A's and B's.
We're
After
at
that though,
Brother Martin, right?
yeah, yeah.
I
After
got
that,
you.
dude, I was considering like C's and D's.
Man, that was me too. Well, okay, I never got A's and B's. I was always kind of getting C's and D's. But then I realized, like, when I moved up here to Virginia and I was going to the new school, I was like, yeah, you know what? I am making C's and D's, but like, I'm still learning things, you know? Because like, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, I just in school I never felt like I didn't really care. Nothing seemed to like it's like why am I here?
Dude,
Like I'm not getting paid to like I feel
right,
like I'm
right.
getting taught the same stuff, especially in certain classes every year. Like
Yeah,
it's
dude, remember
almost insulting.
we went every like fucking English class for like 5 years. We had to go through
Every
like
English
what is
class, bro.
no,
What is a
remember
noun? What is a verb? I
right,
pay
that's what I was gonna
taxes,
say.
bro. I'm
I
literally
know.
18 years old. I'm about to graduate. I know what a noun is, bro.
It was like, what is a noun? Circle all the nouns in a sentence. I'm like, shh, I don't care.
Never.
Oh
Let me tell
man.
you, I've been working, right? I've been actually being an adult for a good bit of time, and never have I ever needed to know what a noun was.
Well,
Never.
it's interesting for me because I'm a niche person. I like a lot of different weird things. Oh, I'm sorry. I like a lot of weird different things that most people don't like. Um, I still think everyone needs to experience it because I'm like, you need to experience the bullshit.
Yeah, I
You
feel
know,
like it actually gave me perspective, so that way when I'm
it
doing stuff
does.
now, it's
Yeah,
like at least I'm not doing something that stupid.
yeah. You know
But I
that,
do a lot of stupid stuff now, so I
right?
can't judge.
Do you know? Speaking of being an adult and relating to shit you learn in school that doesn't seem to really matter, you know the YouTuber Nakey Jakey.
It sounds familiar.
He made this video on why high school didn't matter at all, and he was talking about, he's like, oh, thank God, whenever I'm ordering a coffee, I always remember to myself, oh, the order operations is PEMDAS, which, as an adult stands for please end my damn ass shit ass life.
Never, not once have I used math. I haven't used math. I haven't used like any English. I like never.
I mean,
And
you use English in like subtle ways that you don't realize, but like
that's
math,
true.
math though, like like, if you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide, you should be fine.
Like even then, like there's a lot of complicated math even in the military, right? So like mortars have to
Right.
like figure out angles to aim and trajectories, and even in what I do, I still have to use math. But the thing is, I'm an adult and I do things how I want to do them. I just have cheat sheets. You know what I mean? Like I have a
Calculators.
calculator. I
Yeah.
have like a sheet that has like if it's this, it's this. If it's this, it's this. So I'm not actually using any of the actual stuff I was taught because there's better ways to do things. It's
Right.
just
I
the
mean,
way it
obviously,
is.
there still is value. Like, I don't actually necessarily stand by the whole. If you just can add, subtract, multiply, and divide, that was kind of just for comedic purposes. But I mean, like you said, there is math and numbers in ways that you don't expect it, like in operating machines and stuff like that, and making estimates. Like of trajectory of like projectiles and stuff like that. And it is really
Yeah.
important because you need to know that shit, and you need to know like you need to calculate that to the T.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the time I find like you use it, but it's not the way you were taught to use it. You know what I mean? Like it's like the
Yeah,
way
no,
you
it's like
you interact with math is a lot different than how you would interact with it like in like a school setting.
yeah. I mean, now that you're saying that, that is kind of a good way to look at it. Like you don't really see how like it does matter, and like you can see later on how it was like important. Because you can see the
Yeah,
numbers and like
exactly.
all of these different things, and how you can just make like even like when you're driving on like you're just like driving on the street, like the street signs are all shapes and stuff like that, and you can just kind of deduce by like it's kind of hard to explain, and you just kind of it's one of these things that's subconscious, but you can still your brain kind of just does the equation in your head where you try to figure out like, oh, this lane is going to go into this lane, and you got to do I got to get over, and also you just figure all that out, like your brain just computes it. It's very hard to explain, but I think you can
I
see what
mean,
I'm
even
getting at.
even things like backing in your car to a parking space, like to you it's simple, but that's actually like a good amount of math that your brain's almost doing by itself. Like
Yeah.
calculating what turn of the per like a percent turn of the wheel is how much movement and what angle you need to take to get in. Like you use this stuff, I just you don't realize you do.
Oh, right, and you're not using PEMDAS when you go
Yeah, you're
to.
definitely not using PEMDAS, but it's a
You're not
good joke.
using. Yeah, you're not using PEMDAS when you're parallel parking, but which is ass dick, by the way, especially in DC. Oh God.
What do you
Um,
do now? Like
what
where?
do I
Like
do?
what? Yeah.
So I can see that you don't listen to my podcast numbers. I don't really care, but
Wow.
I mean, most people don't have time to listen to my podcast, and I understand. I was just kind of joking. But so what I do is I work for a company that does paint jobs, and I
Nice.
am my official title is the shop manager. So what I need to do is I order paint and materials and tools for our field workers. I manage the warehouse with all of our paint and wall coverings and whatnot. I do deliveries to job sites. I go to DC almost every other day. I've been to Maryland. I've been to like Alexandria, Arlington, all around in like the greater DC area. I fix, well, I don't necessarily fix them, but I clean spray machines that come back from job sites. I got to mark everything down that comes in, make sure it's going to the right job and whatnot. It's a good gig. It actually pays me pretty well. Um, yeah.
It's pretty solid. I mean,
Yeah, man, like the
it's not
deliveries
bad.
and stuff like that. Yeah. The deliveries I actually don't really mind because especially like in the morning when you're just sipping your coffee, driving on the interstate, it's actually like a good feeling. You can just listen to like whatever music you want. I don't have to, I mean, someone might call me and interrupt my atmosphere. But sometimes, right? But sometimes they don't, and it's just essentially just an hour of I can just listen to music and then just be chilling and stuff and just see the sunrise. It's actually really nice.
Man, I mean, that sounds nice. I mean, peace and
Yeah.
quiet and having like alone time, dude. That's important.
Yeah, man, alone time is very underrated.
That's a fact.
Right, man. Well, do you get a lot of that in the military? Well, yeah, tell me about your job.
Yeah. So what I do is I'm in Hawaii right now with 25th ID. What I do is I'm a line medic for an infantry company in an infantry battalion. So I'm attached to my platoons. I have two of them, which is not normal. It's supposed to be one per platoon, but I'm in a truck company. So like the big armored Humvees you see in all the movies, that's what my guys do. So
Oh, okay, I got you.
I'm the medic for two platoons. So my job is basically to take care of every medical need, every injury that they have. If they're feeling sick, I schedule their medical appointments. They need to go see like an optometrist or like a dental or something like that. I make the appointment for them.
Oh, nice. So like, do you like it, or like, what's your
Yeah,
opinions on it?
it's pretty cool. I mean, I get to see a lot of cool stuff. I get to do a lot of cool stuff because being attached to those guys, when they go shoot guns, I go shoot guns. Wherever
Huh.
they go, I'm there.
Oh, that's cool.
So we just got back from a training thing that was 2 weeks long, and all we did was like sit in the desert and like blow stuff up and shoot stuff. It was
Um,
pretty fun.
yeah, that does sound really cool. Is it taxing physically, like your
Yeah.
work and your training? So like, what do they have you doing?
So like on an average day, at the very least, you're gonna do like PT, which is physical training, every morning from like 6:30 to 7:30. So this will be
And
like a
yeah, tell
six
me.
mile run or like deadlifts and lifting weights or like obstacle courses or rucking, which is you'll walk like long periods of time and long distances with heavy weight on your back. So like your
Yeah, I
rucksack will be
actually.
like 40, 45 pounds, maybe more if you're actually training, but just for PT, it'll be like 45 pounds. And
Mm,
then you'll walk like 5, 6 miles for PT. But when like we're
nice.
actually in the field training, like you'll be carrying a bag that's like 60 something, 70 something pounds for like 20 miles.
Damn. How long does that
The
take?
back pain is ridiculous. It depends on how fast you're going. Usually we aim for around like 15 or less minute miles.
I got
So
you.
we're moving pretty quick, but your
Yeah.
body it takes everything. Like you'll be drained for days and like your back will hurt, your feet will hurt. The worst
Yeah.
part is
How?
being like the medic. Like when we take stops on longer trips, like everyone has to like take off their boots and I have to like inspect their feet to make sure they're not falling apart.
Oh, I can imagine that's disgusting.
Yeah, those boots chew up your feet when you start walking like 20 miles. When you start walking like 12 miles,
Yeah,
it
man.
it tears up your feet because they get wet from sweat, and that sock and that boot mixed with the sweat just blisters your feet, takes the skin off.
Oof. Yeah. Uh, but that sounds cool, man. Like that's an interesting job, especially like at our age.
Yeah, it was
Um,
interesting training. It's a lot of interesting stuff. Like I have an EMT license because of it.
nice.
Um, I've treated a lot of cool injuries. Got to do a lot of cool stuff. A lot of like cool equipment. So like we have like an armored medical ambulance. We have like litters, like stretchers, but like for combat, we have like all this IV tubing and IV fluids, and we can push blood and medicine and stuff. It's actually really cool, and the training we get is pretty top tier.
How often do you get to rest?
So working for the military is kind of cool because most of the time you'll get the weekends off. You just work the 5 day week. Um,
Oh, so that's what I do. It's I can see the parallel.
You work your 5 day week, and then usually have the weekend, and every month or so you'll get like a 3 day, 4 day for a holiday or something,
That's
and
cool.
then every month we earn 2 days of leave, which you can save, so that way you can take like vacation, basically.
And is it full pay?
Yeah, you're fully paid as long as you're using your leave days.
Oh, I got
So
you.
so if I save up like say 14 days, right? I have 14 days to spend, quote unquote. And I go, hey, I want to take 2 weeks of vacation. I still get paid like normal. It's like I'm working, but I don't actually have to work.
Or
I
is
get paid just the
PTO?
same.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a pretty good gig. I mean, everything's paid for the most part. Like,
Right. Does it give you any like college thing or anything like that?
yeah. So the medic course for the army is actually worth like pretty close to like an associate's degree in college. So certain
Okay.
colleges will even let you get like all you have to do is complete like the necessary classes, right?
Yeah.
That you would have to take that are mandatory anyway. You just have to take those and you would get your associate's degree.
Yeah.
It's just how much the university honors the military training. So if you go to like a university that's like very pro military, right? So like American Military University, they
Mhm.
they eat that stuff up. Or even like Baker schools, like I know Purdue's pretty good with taking military credits and stuff like that.
I got you.
So yeah, a lot of jobs in the military translate to pretty high amount of credits in college.
Yeah, I can imagine. What made you want to join the military?
Well, college was expensive, and obviously, as previously stated, I was not a great student. So
All right.
I was like, let me explore my other options. And I was thinking like I could just work construction, like I'm in decent shape, right? I could work construction or like a blue collar job and be fine. And
Right.
then I was like, I don't know. So I one of the guys had joined the National Guard at my high school, so I was like, okay, let me check out National Guard. Checked out National Guard and was like, what if I did this full time instead? And so I enlisted.
Hmm.
It just seemed like a pretty good gig, but also like the benefits I would get would extend past just my time of service. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's
like,
another thing. I'm sure it can like you were talking about the college, but also like it just gives you like you know like the discipline and all that stuff. Like to just whenever you do go back and live in like normal life, everything will just be easier for you. You know.
I hope so. Anyway,
Right.
there's. I also feel like it gives me like like legitimacy in a lot of people's eyes, right? Because coming out of like high school and being college age, very few people will probably take you like seriously. I'm sure you've
Right.
experienced that where people kind of write you off because you're young,
Absolutely, man. But I
and
mean, it's inevitable.
yeah,
Like you
but I
just got to
feel
deal
like
with it.
it's still here. It's still in the army and it's still in the military where people kind of like look down at younger people because they don't have the experience. But like when I go home and someone asks what I do and I say the army, it throws a lot more legitimacy behind like what I'm saying. You know
And
what I
it's a lot.
mean?
Right. It's a lot more legitimacy, I guess, than what I'm doing.
Well, I mean, your job is 100% like legitimate, but it's like
It's not
they
skilled labor though. Like your job is
they
skilled. It's definitely skilled labor.
yeah, they know like I think everyone's kind of aware of what it takes to be a soldier or a sailor or a marine or airman or whatever. Like the amount of discipline, the amount of time, the amount of like fitness it takes. So I think
Yeah. No. It's
they
hard.
now hold you to like a higher standard in their mind than they would with you just being younger.
I got you. I'm sure they're not nice at all.
Dude, basic training was terrible.
What'd they have you do?
Uh, so in the army, I'm pretty sure it's the same across the board, but like in army basic training, the whole purpose is like break you down and like get you to break habits that you have as a civilian. So like taking orders and then like learning the military traditions and how to do things. So like there's punishments for messing it up even if they've only taught it to you one time.
Right.
So
So
they
what?
just punish you until you correct it, almost like a dog. Like you tell your dog to sit or not to bite, and then it does, and you like squirt it with a spray gun until it
Oh
gets
god.
it. That's pretty much
Yeah.
how like the military treats training. They punish
Uh,
you until you figure it out.
like what kind of things do they teach you to do?
So there's like different ways to stand when you talk to people. So like you stand parade rest when talking to NCOs, you stand at
Hmm.
attention talking to officers, how to salute, how to march,
I
stuff
got
like
you.
that. And like just discipline, standing still for long periods of time or not
Yeah, that's probably gotta.
talking.
Yeah, it's gotta be tough.
So like, and if you fail to do it or you fail to meet standards, you they punish you physically. So like you're building physical strength and endurance for every time you mess up. So the saying that I've always heard is you're either going to be a strong soldier or you're going to be a smart soldier. Because if you're
I got you.
smart, you catch up and like you catch on and you don't get punished. Or if you're dumb, you do the wrong thing, you get punished and you're going to be really strong because of it.
In what other ways do they punish you other than like just squirting you with like hoses that are probably at really high pressure?
I never got sprayed with any hoses, but like they'll get in your face and like say some messed up stuff. Like they'll really like get after you.
What do they
They'll
tell you?
like I've heard them like talk about people's families and their moms and their sisters, their girlfriends. They call them worthless, and that the reason they're here is like so the army will make them not worthless. Like, but then they'll
Ah, I
like
got
make
you.
you do like push-ups for like an hour and a half straight,
Ooh
or
man.
they'll come in and you'll do like exercise. Like one time, someone's boots weren't perfectly aligned on their like locker where all of our stuff was. So we
Mhm.
sat in the bay, which is like where we slept during basic training for like 3 hours, just clapping our arms over our hands for 3 hours straight, just because someone's boots weren't aligned. Or one time we did, I think, hundreds of push-ups. Like people were like barely able to get back up, like, or they'd put you in like the squat position where you're like at the bottom of the squat and make you hold it with your arms straight up in the air.
Yeah. Yeah, the wall squats and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you just sit there in the squatting position with your arms up in a V or a Y shape. And then when we were handling like rifles, if someone messed up, like while we're have our rifles, you like hold them over your head for long periods of time. Or
Are they heavy?
no, they're not too heavy, but they get heavy after you've been holding them for a while.
Oh, sure. I mean, but hey, that sounds like, I mean, that's the way you gotta train. I couldn't imagine it being different.
Yeah, like that's the whole point. It might seem terrible, but it works. If
Yeah,
you
no,
look at like how people look at the beginning of training and how they looked at the end, it works.
I bet it does. No, and like, there's like, a reason why the American military is so badass and like the way it's been the most powerful for so long. It's probably just because of these traditions, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's like it's discipline for sure, and also like our structure. What we learn is how to like respect people because of their rank, right? So
Hmm.
someone who's a sergeant, you respect them because they're a sergeant. And so that way, when you're in a combat area or you're in a combat zone or whatever you're doing, you're fighting, you know that that's your superior. They're going to like get you through it. You need to listen. So like you in early, like within training, they instill like respect and discipline. So that way when these people who are in charge and trained to help you and like win can actually do their job.
Right. What is like the highest rank you could have in the army?
So there's two different types. There's generals or not generals. Generals is the highest for officers, and then the enlisted is a sergeant major. It's the two highest.
I
But
got
a
you.
general outranks a sergeant major because officers outrank enlisted members.
I got you.
So
Yeah, man. I mean, that seems like a really cool job. I mean, I gotta say kudos to you for actually like just going ahead and just doing this. Like you're like, fuck it, yeah, this is what I'm doing. You know, no going back.
I I've really thought about quitting like the first 2 weeks of training, and I was just like, it wouldn't be worth it if anyone could do it. You know what I mean?
Well, sure. And like, I mean,
So like, I powered through it, and I was like I can do it. I didn't give myself an option. You know what I mean? I just kept
yeah,
telling
that's
myself
nice.
like, I'll quit tomorrow, and the next day when I was supposed to quit, I'd be like, no, I'll quit tomorrow. I just kept going, and like as you go, you build confidence because you start to
Right.
conquer these huge obstacles. Like something early in basic training, you go through a gas chamber
Man.
with tear gas, and you have a gas mask, and you gotta put it on and take it off, and say stuff while the gas is like choking you. And like your eyes, your nose, your mouth, they burn. It hurts to breathe. You can't really breathe because it's thick. It's a terrible experience. Every like hole in your body, like on your face, is like oozing. Like you're spitting. You have tons of snot. You're crying.
Ah, Shay, that sounds
Like
fucking awful, man.
it's terrible. But like it's a big confidence boost because like you just got tear gassed and you did it. And then another early event is you rappel down like a 40-foot like tower.
Oh yeah, that sounds really scary.
I think it's 40 foot or 40 yards, something like that. It's a big tower. It's like a 2-story building.
And it's like you
Um,
said, like when you do these kind of things, it just kind of like once they're done, you're just like, thank fuck.
yeah, you're grateful it's done, but then you look back and it's like a huge confidence boost because you did it.
Yeah, I can
Like
imagine,
you
man.
were like we were all scared. None of us had ever rappelled down buildings or anything like that. No one had ever been gassed, and we made it through. So like it was a huge confidence boost to continue to the next thing. So like as you went through, it sucked, but as you went through, you felt more and more like a soldier. You felt more and more accomplished.
Yeah. But
So they tear you
yeah, so
down. Like at the beginning, nothing is good enough. Everything you do, even if it's the right thing, isn't good enough. Then like you get like halfway through and it's like, okay, that wasn't terrible. Right? You're shooting, it's like, okay, that wasn't bad. Right? And you start getting to like the end, the last like training events, the last final things, and like it's like act like they're actually like telling you like, yeah, you did good. So like as you like progress, you feel like you're actually getting better. You feel like you're progressing. You feel legitimate. You feel real. So
just that like building strength over time. I'm sure it's extremely satisfying.
yeah, I mean, the PT we did there was no joke. We exercised so much. I was 180 going in. I was 155 coming out.
You lost that much weight?
Yeah.
Oh shit, man, that's nice.
It was not fun though, but
No, I can imagine it's not. But no, with all the stuff you're telling me, it's making me realize how much of a pussy I am. Um, with like my workouts, they're like nothing compared to what you guys do.
it, I'm sure like obviously the stuff we do seems very cool and very like badass, but like it's not for everyone, and there's absolutely no shame in people like admitting like, hey, this isn't for me. You know what I mean? So like,
How much do you think, like, for someone who can do it, that are think that they can't? How much is like actually being weak, or it's just like this is not what I'm meant for?
I say basic training is like 85% mental.
I got you.
So you might be weak, you might not be very fast. They can fix that. They can't fix you being a pussy.
I mean,
If you know how to, if you can suffer and still not give up, that's the type of people the army wants to finish. Because you can come in weak and you will get strong. You can come in slow and you will become faster. But they can't build your mentality. If you're the type of person that breaks under pressure and can't handle like real suffering, like real hardship, and you break, That's not what they're looking for. You
I
can't
got you.
like train mentality. I mean, that's why most of the schools in the army and most of like the specialized stuff, most of it's like, except for like the Rangers and Special Forces, most of it's just whether or not you quit or not. Because those are the people that the army wants. The army doesn't want people who quit. Like
Um,
a lot
yeah,
of
I mean, I
people
would.
think they can't but
Sorry, keep
could.
going. How many people do you think could but can't?
Um,
Like
Man,
they think they could, but they actually can't.
a lot of people. A lot of people who go like a surprisingly more than you would think go and
Oh
realize they
wow,
can't.
okay.
So like more people than you probably think quit.
I thought it would
And
have been like people that are really cocky or whatever and think that like they're just gonna cruise through it and stuff like that.
yeah, I mean I've seen people who are like super fit, super in shape, like they quit.
Man, and
And it
you
wasn't the
didn't.
physical aspect that made them quit. It was that they couldn't take getting yelled at or like having to do things that sucked.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of that.
I mean, I am too. Like, I'm not gonna like now. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and do something that sucks. But I'm also more than willing to do something that sucks if it needs to be done.
Sure, because that's what the training's all about. Because like if you're in a situation where like there's nothing you can do about it, like you just kind of just have to, you
Yeah, I mean, it
know.
definitely. I remember like multiple times where I was like, "Man, this sucks," but like I can't stop. Like I didn't give myself the option to stop. It just had to get done. So you just do it.
And you've been in there for how long?
I'll be hitting my year pretty soon.
Okay. Yeah, and how long do you plan to stay?
Well, I have 3 more years once I hit one left, so I'll around like early August I'll be at 3 years left.
And what do you want to do after that?
I don't know if I'll sign another contract and stay here or if I'll just continue my medical career outside the army. Just depends on like how far I make it, I guess, and like what the army is willing to give me to stay.
Yeah, I got you. But no, that's
Because
good,
the
man. I'm
army,
glad you've like actually found something that like is fit for you. Like it's like valuable. You know, it's very nice because a lot of people don't haven't figured that out. I haven't figured it out yet. I still like my job, but like I'm just sometimes I feel I'm just like I could just be doing something greater. Like I could be doing something that's like actually more valuable and stuff.
be a soldier then.
Um, n- no, because I don't want to serve the current government that sits.
Unfortunately,
No, I'm
but
sorry. Like I'm not serving the government right now.
yeah, well, I could understand like not doing it for that reason. I mean, you are you basically sign a contract to become government property, and um, just like everything else in the USA, the U.S. will use you until you're broken,
Yep.
um, which is fine because thankfully, like the army benefits, the military benefits allow you to use the USA back. Like they might break my body, but damn it, they're gonna pay for it
Yeah, and
in
that's really
cash,
nice.
cold hard cash, baby.
Yeah, that's why I'm sure. Like in terms of like country military is like the best to be in. Like it's definitely America's number one. Like, I can't imagine what
Bro,
military is.
once they let
Yeah,
us have beards, it's over, dude.
I bet that's fun.
We don't have them, dude. We're the only country in NATO that can't have beards, dude. Make it happen, Joe Biden, please. If you're
I know,
listening,
dude. That makes you like it. Literally makes you look more badass. I don't understand why we're not allowed to.
bro. I saw the German army yesterday because they were here for some rifle marksmanship thing. Dude, they
Right.
look cold as hell with their beards.
I know it's so
They
clean.
look
Like
scarier, bro.
yeah, no, it makes you look more intimidating, right? Like I don't understand what the whole like. I think that's just like I mean I'm making an educated guess, but like I think in like English culture, beards are seen as like looking. like unclean or looking very bummy and like low class and stuff like that. Because I know back in the day, like if you, like you had to have access to like these really expensive tools and whatnot to be able to even shave. Um, so like if you were had a beard, that meant you're probably poor because you couldn't you didn't have time or you didn't have money to actually cut your hair.
I think the problem is
But
like they don't
well, I
think it
mean,
looks professional.
right,
I
and they're
think that's a big
professional and
problem.
stuff, and um, but I mean, hey, like look at all of like the pictures of the founding fathers and the people in the colonial America. Like none of them have beards. I'm just like
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like I'm pretty sure it's just something that's derived from like English or like just British Isles culture and stuff like that. And also
well,
like politicians, you never see them with beards because, like you said, it's probably just the doesn't look professional thing. I don't understand why.
I
I think
mean
it looked
we
just.
can't have long hair either because of professionalism.
Well, I mean, long hair, I guess, could make more sense just because maybe that could just get caught in something. I don't know.
I mean, the reason for us technically not being allowed to have beards is because it's harder to seal. Like it's damn near impossible if you have a thick beard for you to seal a gas mask.
Yeah, that's true.
That is the reasoning. At the same time, every other modern military pretty much allows beards. So, like, obviously, there can't be that big of a problem with gas mask if everyone else is doing it.
Yeah, I don't get that.
I doubt
Um,
every military in the world is just like, you know what? If a gas attack happens, it happens. Like, I'm sure they have ways to actually, like, fight off, the issue of the gas mask.
Man, I just still wish y'all could have beards though. That'd be so badass.
That's what I'm saying, man. We just recently got some newer regulations on like hand tats, which somehow is more professional than longer hair. But
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I mean, they're allowed to be small and like they're not supposed to be very big. And I'm pretty sure the real reason is for like women, because like a lot of women will get like a little heart or a flower or a butterfly on their hand. And I think the problem was we were having a lot of people want to join or stay in the military that had that, so that the army just made it legal, so that way
I
we could
got
get
you.
more people. I mean, they also just
Wait.
allowed people with no GED or high school diploma to join. So I don't
Oh,
know
you
what
don't
they
even
need
need a
all
high
these
school
people
diploma?
for. None
I
of
guess
them,
no, but I mean, I guess like that's just because less and less people are like enlisting.
bro. They better not be trying to amass troops, dude. I don't like that, dude. Last time we tried to get a lot of soldiers, we ended up in a country we didn't want to be in. So
Mm.
better not be trying to get more soldiers to go to war because I don't know about all that.
I mean, hey, if like World War III breaks out, we got to get soldiers.
I hope it breaks out not in the Pacific because I'm in the Pacific.
Do you think it's gonna break out?
World War III, no, but I could definitely see some fighting going on in the time like that we're around. I think it'll
But
probably
that
come to like proxy wars with China and Russia. That is, if
you,
Ukraine doesn't destroy Russia.
right, but you really don't think that that's gonna like involve the U.S. in
I
some
mean, like
way or
I could
another?
maybe see like Chinese or Russian like backed countries or groups being fought by the U.S., but I could never see like a full scale war between the two.
I got you.
The U.S. is not going to fight countries with nuclear weapons or countries like China that could just choke our economy out. Like, if China stopped trading
Yeah.
with us, our economy would die. We can't really afford to fight them. Like, our military sure would kick their ass, but
Right, but then we rely, like you said, that we rely on
we
them too
rely
much, like
so heavily on
economically.
them.
Right.
So,
I mean,
like,
look
we
at
would
like
struggle.
that's so weird. Like, why have we been so dependent on China? I don't get that.
Because we have morals and not hey don't take that out of context. Chinese people have morals, but their labor laws are a lot more loose than our labor laws are.
Well, yeah,
So
no,
it's
they can have like child slave labor and stuff like that.
yeah, pretty much. So like companies will go and use cheap legal labor. It's legal there, and like China does a pretty good job of welcoming like foreign companies, which is why a lot of the time, like especially with like Trump did this pretty well was incentivizing companies to stay here with tax breaks and stuff like that.
Right.
And people always like complain about tax breaks and like these big companies like getting away with like not paying huge amounts of tax or like whatever it is, but like you don't understand, like we need to like bide for them, like they're not going to stay here. There's no
Yeah.
incentive unless we give it to them. They hold the cards, and China is willing to give them what they want. So they make stuff cheaper, like they make it faster, and companies value that over, maybe like the morally right thing or like the support of the American people, because
Right.
like all that cheap labor, like for example, like a Nike shoe, probably a fraction to create in China than it is in the US. Because of
Oh yeah.
minimum wage and work hours and labor laws, like they're pumping out way more. There's no reason, like incentive for these big companies who sell globally anyway. So a war with China would just mean possibly losing these companies, or
Well,
those companies
yeah.
losing access to that labor, which not a good thing for them.
Well, right. I mean, look at almost like everything you own. It's all probably Chinese made.
Yeah, I mean everything the army doesn't give me, but
Yeah.
man, I've seen American flags made in Taiwan, so like obviously a lot of things in the U.S. that should be made in America aren't.
Okay, yeah, that's fucked. Like, how is that
That was
not made
not
in
an army.
America?
That was not an army thing. That was just like at like a Walmart or something.
You think that's because we're
But
lazy?
like that are, I don't think it's because we're lazy. I just think it's because like through the years of like America becoming more and more like in support of the workers and unionizations and stuff like that, these workers and these people and all these people who make up the workforce, they're protected. There's no problem with that. I mean, I don't
Hmm.
think we should be putting people in like 13-year-olds in coal mines and making them work like 13 hours a day.
Right. Hmm.
But in a lot of countries, they can still do that.
Yeah,
So,
I know. Like, I can imagine Indonesia is like similar. Same with like Cambodia and all of those Southeast Asian companies and stuff like that.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
a
man. I
lot of
mean that.
places are pretty sketchy, dude.
Yeah, that's another thing where I'm like, yeah, at least we don't have to deal with that. Like, whatever we're dealing with here is infinitely better than what's going on over there. Like when I was
Uh,
seeing a video about those like salt miners or whatever in Indonesia. Oh man, they have to this dude has to literally bike X amount of time to like get to like a car that can like take him to the mountain that can like where it takes him like 2 hours just to scale the mountain to go to the work, and then he has to like literally mine like lava rocks and stuff like that, and then like they don't pay him anything. They only pay him enough to have like this little bit of food, and then he has to like do it all again the next day.
we're like the blood diamond mines in Africa and stuff like that. Like, not
Yeah.
everywhere in the world are workers paid and treated fairly. So like while I'm blessed that in the country I'm living in, people are, the fight for workers is making sure that like they get paid more and not that they get
Right.
paid at all.
Do you think that like workers are treated too nicely in the U.S. and too generously?
I think that's kind of a loaded question because like I think that every person should be treated fairly and be given what they need to live. And I think that like our laborers need to be fairly compensated for the danger and stress they put on their bodies, right? Like these guys who go and work like long hours in coal mines or on huge construction sites, like they're putting
Yeah.
in real work and they should be compensated fairly for it. But the rest of the world just, not all of them agree.
No,
So
right, yeah,
like
like if
while
you go
we
to
can treat our workers with respect and pay them fairly, that doesn't mean anyone else in the world has to. So is it morally right and do I support it? Yes. But do I think it's competitive? No.
right, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, like when I went to Brazil, last summer. I mean, I just like noticed that like people that would do like if you do a construction job over there, or like just even like a restaurant job or like a food service job, you like it takes them maybe like 3 or 4 days to make when you make in one day. You know?
I mean, like, to put it this way, like, your local Chick fil A worker makes more than I do per year.
Oh yeah, actually,
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Oh, that doesn't make any sense.
I am paid below minimum wage technically.
You were paid by minimum wage.
No, below minimum wage.
Okay, that's fucked. Why is that?
Because I work 24/7 while they work certain hours a week. So if I were to get paid minimum wage, I would be making hella bank.
Okay.
Because I can be
Wait,
called to
wait.
work at 12 o'clock at night.
And are
So
you
I am
like
getting paid 24/7.
right? But you're paid salary or what?
I'm paid by rank.
Okay.
And I get paid bi-weekly. So like this rank makes this much. So every month you get two paychecks, and that's how much you make a month.
Okay.
But if
Is
you
the
do the
pay?
math, it totals out to like 36 cents an hour. Like something crazy like
Oh
that.
well, yeah. If it's like hourly though, I mean, well, yeah, like that's like mine. Like for my job, like I work 50 hours a week, and it's like if you actually do the math with the hours, like it's probably not that much an hour, but I mean, I still get paid a good amount of money.
Like I'd say maximum I maybe make like $24,000 a year.
Oh well, that's not that good.
Exactly. So like see the thing, like a Chick-fil-A worker, because of the laws we have in place, makes more money yearly than me. You know what I'm saying? Which is not
Like,
wrong. Like I'm sure they have a family or bills or whatever they need to pay, right? I don't pay bills, right? I don't pay for rent or anything like that. I pay my phone bill, I pay my internet bill,
but what
and
if you
any
were?
other
Like,
things I have.
what if you were paying bills and stuff like that? Could you even do
Well,
it?
the army, for people who are paying bills or have houses that they rent outside of the army actually gives you extra money that covers your rent based on the state that you live in.
Oh, that's actually really nice.
So, like, if I were to say I got married, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right, army, me and my wife want to go live in Iwa Village, right? That's where we want to live. And we find an apartment, right? And the apartment's like $20,000 a month, right? Is why it's expensive. The
Yeah, I can
Army
imagine.
BAH basic housing allowance for Hawaii is like $2,400 that they just give you so that way you can pay your rent.
That's actually that's really cool.
You also get it if you're just married at all. Even if you live on Army housing, you still get paid BAH.
So they just give you some kind of money to pay your rent.
Yeah, so like my friend,
So
right?
wait, so like even if you weren't married and you had your own house, you they would just pay it for you or help you
Yeah,
pay it.
if for single soldiers, you live in the barracks. But like, if I were to say my barracks got torn down or something happened, or me and a friend are like, "Hey, Army, can we live off base?" and somehow we get it approved, yeah, I would then receive money to pay rent.
Okay.
And like, as you like get kids and stuff, you get extra money to support them. And
Yeah,
as
that's
you get
really
like
cool.
dependents, right? So as you get your wife, you get kids, they throw in money so you're actually able to support them. You throw in extra money because the paycheck that I might receive, right, isn't enough for two people. But if I say, "Hey, Army, I'm supporting two people," I would then receive extra money to go to my paycheck to allow for the care of two people.
You plan on doing that?
And getting married, I mean, eventually, bro.
I mean, hey, a lot of people don't want to do it anymore, so I'm just
So
curious.
hope so, but I'm not rushing anything. I make plenty enough money to support the lifestyle I live.
Yeah, I mean, me too. But then again, like you said, neither of us pay rent and all that stuff. I mean, I still buy my own stuff and I pay almost all of like my own bills, but um
I
yeah, I
mean, I
do need
feel
to
like
actually I either need to get promoted where I am now or I need to do like I was thinking about doing HVAC or something like that, I could do that, and then I could legitimately think about you know having a family and stuff like that. But as we're saying right now, if I'm still making the same amount, which is like I'm still making a good amount, but it would be only good if I was just supporting myself, and I'm like that doesn't work if I'm trying to start a family.
Yeah, I understand. Like I make like the money I have now, like it's perfectly fine to like go out and pay my phone bill, my internet bill, and buy games, do what I want. But it's fine for me. But if I had like a child or a family, it would absolutely not be enough to support a family.
Yeah.
So like,
But I'm like, I mean, hey, I mean, that's just kind of like, I'm like, that's just kind of how it is now. I mean, I just gotta be patient, you know?
dude,
I know it'll come, either the promotion or I just will decide, like, I'll do HVAC, you know? But I gotta
yeah,
figure it out.
yeah. So I'm chilling now. I mean, I'll probably tackle that once I get to it. But right now, I live the lifestyle I'm good with. So no
I mean,
complaints.
yeah, I mean, that's good. You're happy where you're at.
I mean, I get to do some pretty cool stuff. I mean, I get paid to do it and get paid to live in Hawaii.
But yeah, I'm sure it's beautiful over there, dude, right?
It's great. It's a gorgeous island, Oahu, that we're on right now, where Schofield is.
Oahu? Okay.
Yeah, we're about 40 minutes from Waikiki, like 25, 30 minutes from Honolulu.
Have you been to Honolulu?
Yeah, I've been to Honolulu a good few times.
How is it over there?
The city is really pretty. It's like such unique architecture, and like the way that they like live is a lot different. Like they like really like there'll be like mountains and hills and stuff, but they have their houses built on there anyway. Like
Okay. And is it mostly like native peoples or like just regular Americans, or is it kind of just like a mix between?
there's a
Or
lot of native people and a lot of like Asian people, a lot of Japanese people.
yeah, I knew that it has like I think Honolulu has the highest concentration, or no, it has the second highest concentration of ethnic Japanese people outside of Japan, second to Sao Paulo, Brazil. I knew that.
Yeah, so there's a ton of like that type of people. But there's also like tourists, like especially during the summer, like tourist season. And there's like people who go to school here. But for the majority, you're either like probably military or Japanese or Native Hawaiian. And those groups
Right,
do not always get along.
I can imagine. But I mean, I still would want to go someday because I'm sure it's just really cool over there.
Oh, it's great. There's a lot of stuff to do, a lot of pretty sights to see. You
I
just like
yeah, I really love their like music and stuff like that, and just the aesthetic is really cool.
yeah, I was under the impression that like no one actually said like aloha and like stuff like no, that's absolutely a thing that actually people say. Like it's not
Oh,
like
and
a
like
stereotype or anything. Like if people really say that stuff, like it's really the way they speak. So
oh
that's
yeah,
actually really cool. Like they
uh huh,
actually their culture that you see is actually their culture. It's not like a stereotype or like a imaginary culture. So like when you see people from like New Orleans, and every time New Orleans is displayed, it's like Mardi Gras, and like they talk a specific way with a certain
I hate
accent.
that shit. That's not true
Like,
though.
but like a lot of people in Hawaii like really live the way that Hawaii is presented.
Well, okay, well, that's cool.
I mean, obviously, it's
I
not like walking around in like hula outfits and like going to luau's every day, but no,
right,
like
but I'm sure it
the way
happens
that
sometimes.
yeah, like the way that they actually interact, like people actually say aloha and actually say like mahalo when they're like telling you goodbye or thank you or whatever. Like the people actually like say this stuff.
I know there was like a huge effort to recently to like preserve the language.
Yeah, I've actually met a few native Hawaiian speakers. I don't know if it's actually called Hawaiian. My bad if it's not called Hawaiian.
I mean, that's what we
Um,
would call it. I don't know what they would call it, but
but yeah, it's a whole like real cool language. I mean, I can't speak any of it, but I know a few people who do.
I think Jason Momoa speaks it. I know he's Hawaiian. That would actually be really badass if he did.
You might, dude. You never know. But also, like, here there's
Aquaman,
a lot
dude.
of tension between the U.S. government, especially us, because we are kind of like the muscle of the government, and
Right.
there is quite a bit of resentment for America by local people.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, I heard about that. But
they're
like,
not too fond of U.S. soldiers. To just put it nicely, they're not very fond of us at all.
I mean, are they really that much worse than the tourists and stuff like that?
Um, I think it's just because like we represent like colonization and like imperialism to them. Not all of them are like this, but a lot of people who are like very old style or like very like liberal about their city and their state,
I got
right?
you.
A lot of them feel like they were inducted into America like unwillingly, which they were. They were 100% taken over illegitimately, but
Yeah, I
that's
don't
neither here or
know
there.
about. Yeah, I don't know too much about the history of Hawaii and like how we got it,
But like
so I wouldn't be able to
they still
comment on that.
feel is they still very much feel wronged and slighted by the decision, and then
Right.
so like they feel like the U.S. has no like shouldn't have any power over them, and that they were a legitimate like thing by themselves, and that America being like so present. I mean, and then like the whole like Pearl Harbor thing. I'm sure they weren't too happy about that either.
Yeah. Wasn't Hawaii a British colony originally?
Um, so I don't know the whole like Hawaiian like history, but I believe it was, and then they left, and then the Hawaiian people had like their own nation. They had the queen, and then the U.S. kidnapped the queen and like made it pretty much like colonized
Huh.
and imperialized
Huh.
the nation, and then was
Nice.
like, okay, guys, let's vote to become part of the U.S. And then they voted to be part of the U.S. and then they released the queen. Like some pretty shitty shit, to be honest.
That's funny.
Like,
Just kidnapped
yeah,
the queen.
straight up, dude. They no
Got
man.
him. Got him.
So like a lot of them like don't like us here, which I understand. I mean,
Yeah, it's
they
understandable.
they have like the largest like I'm sure like military per capita than any other state in the country.
What other state comes close? I can't
No,
like imagine
maybe
because like I'm
Texas. Maybe Texas actually might
right,
come
and like
close.
I know there's a lot of military stuff in California, but also California is like really big, so I'm sure it's not concentrated as like in the same way that Hawaii is.
Maybe California might come close. No, Alaska would come close. There's not many people in Alaska, but there's a whole
Right. Yeah.
base with thousands of soldiers in Alaska. So it's got to be
Yeah.
Alaska. It has to be.
I can see that. Isn't there a lot of There's a lot of military stuff in Florida, isn't there not?
There's like smaller bases. They're not huge. Texas has really big bases though. Like Fort Hood is there, and Fort Hood's like 50,000
Okay.
soldiers.
What other like places come close? I guess like what other states?
Georgia has a lot of military bases.
Okay.
The Carolinas.
All right, that
Um,
makes sense.
Washington D.C. I think has a military base in it. I don't think it's like the military base we
Um.
kind of think of. I think it's where the old guard is.
Well, so in my job, we're actually painting like some of the Navy research buildings and labs and stuff like that. So I know there's that over there, but I don't know if like
Well,
it's like a
the
base in
old
the same
guard,
way.
yeah, it's not the way we think of it, but there is like a
No.
military thing there
Yeah,
because
it's more of
the
like the sciencey
infantry,
aspect, yeah, of the
like the
military.
infantry old guard, is there. Like the guys who do like Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and everything.
Right. Yeah.
I forgot what the base is called.
Yeah, I have no
Louisiana
idea.
has a pretty big base. It has the Belchase Naval Base in
Oh,
Fort
that's
Polk.
right. Yeah, I remember that.
Um, New York has Fort Drum, but just the size of New York alone would make that base size irrelevant because there's millions in New York City. So per capita
Yeah,
wouldn't be
exactly.
too
So I mean, it
big.
just makes sense that Hawaii is the biggest per capita. Well, how
Yeah,
many
there's a
people are
ton
in
of us.
Hawaii?
Not too many. I mean, even on Oahu, there's probably a relatively huge, pretty big military presence. Pearl Harbor, Hickam, Wheeler, K Bay, and Schofield. That's 5 military bases.
No, but what is like the population of Hawaii?
Let's see. It's
I,
not big
I,
at all.
no, I can't imagine it being that much.
Population of Hawaii is 1.42 million,
Ah, okay, nice.
with Honolulu having about the size of New Orleans. So,
Yeah,
but like every base of the military, like every branch is here. Marines, Airmen, Navy, Army, Coast Guard, everyone is here. There's two airstrips, one for helicopters, one for planes, a whole bay for boats, whole base for Marines, base for Army. Like it's huge. There's a huge like group here.
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, out of all the branches, if I would ever have to join one, it would probably be the army.
Yeah, I mean the Army does the widest variety of stuff. I would put it.
I can see that.
Like the Army is the only branch where one of its members is jumping out of helicopters and shooting people in the face and like actually being a soldier, and someone is like researching like viral diseases in the same branch. Like
All right.
there's way more stuff to do. Like the Army has aircraft, tons of helicopters, it even has planes. The Army has tanks and armored vehicles, soldiers on foot, has big guns, howitzers, mortars, all these small arms, pistols, rifles. But it also has a ton of like medical aspects. It has medics, dentists, radiologists, anesthesiologists, like pediatricians. Like there's such a wide variety that if you want to sit at a desk all day and fill out papers, you can. If you want to go kick in
Yeah,
doors and
that's
kill bad
true.
guys, you can go do that. If you there's even divers, there's army divers. So if you want to be in the water, you can still be in the army.
Yeah, that's like true. I never thought about that. And that's why like when anyone talks about how much like we give too much money to the military, I'm like, well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's involved in the military. So like it makes sense why we need to fund it.
Our stuff is so expensive. I don't think people understand. I think people be like, "Oh, well, gun's not that expensive. I bought my AR-15 for three hundred,
That's
four
not
hundred
the same thing.
dollars." Right? It's like our rifles are thousands of dollars.
Well, right, yeah, exactly. Like what
We
you guys have access to a lot of things that we as civilians do not, I can imagine.
Dude, I mean, just like 2 months ago, I was shooting a fully automatic grenade launcher.
Oh, that sounds badass, dude.
We have 50 cals that you don't even have to control from the turret. You control it from inside the truck on a screen and a joystick.
Okay, dude, that just sounds like the most badass shit ever. Like, I kind of want to do that. That would
It
be
has
so
night
fucking
vision,
cool.
heat, it has all the
Yeah,
tech.
that
Like
shit I can imagine is really expensive.
like crazy zoom too. So like even something you can't see at like the normal eye level, like just our naked eye, it can like multiple times zoom in and tell you where to aim to account for bullet drop and
Or like
distance.
it tells you and like calculates everything for you.
Yeah, you can also like lock it onto targets. So like if a target runs off the screen, right, the machine will point you to where it is, so you can move the camera and reticle right back onto it.
But have you ever
I mean,
actually had to like be deployed into like an actual fighting situation?
no, after Afghanistan was over, we haven't been seeing real fighting except for our special forces guys and like the offshoot things that happen in like Iraq. But like for the most part, we're not fighting anymore. War's over. We're no longer fighting insurgencies for real.
I
Our
got
our
you.
next target is peer to peer. Army is changing a lot of like uh, a lot of stuff we do. They're called SOPs. Like our way we do stuff had been changed to fight insurgents. All right. So our vehicles were meant to be heavily armored, slower, hitting harder. Right. It was
Bulkier.
yeah, because these guys had AKs and they had like RPGs. RPGs are not touching most army vehicles. They're too strong. They're too bulky. But now we're realizing that the next fight is going to be a peer. It's going to be someone with around the equivalent amount of power. People who actually have artillery and ballistic missiles. So now
Yeah.
we're putting more effort into like mobility. It's more about making these vehicles faster, making sure they can be more maneuverable, making sure our new weapons can shoot farther, they shoot bigger, they can pierce body armor now. Like it's all about fighting someone who fights like us. People who are going to have their
Right.
own armored vehicles, people who are going to have their own missiles, people
Yeah,
who are
I'm
going to
sure, which
have their own helicopters and planes.
I'm sure
So
we're not really used to that.
we're not. We've been fighting effectively people with scarves and AKs. We're going to be fighting people who are trained soldiers now, is what the army thinks at least. So
Or I
like
mean, it's better safe than sorry. So
like for example, this should be common knowledge for everyone at this point, but the army is switching its service rifle. Will no longer be using M4s.
what are you
They're
using now?
they'll, they're going to be using some SIG rifle that now shoots a larger round than 5.56.
Huh. Okay.
We'll be shooting rounds that basically can go straight through body armor.
Ooh, man.
So even in training, sometimes we don't even wear the body armor anymore because we wouldn't fighting in near peer. It just makes us slower and heavier. If their stuff's going to go straight through our stuff, why slow ourselves down with it?
Yeah, I mean that's true.
Or like the crow system. Why would we put people in the turrets if we have machines that we can use to shoot from inside the safety of the armored vehicle?
Yeah, so I can see that the goal is just like protecting the people and obviously like just making it more convenient because this is like where convenience like you want it, you know?
Yeah, so like it instead of like it being about like can it take an out RPG and be okay and keep shooting, it's more of like if it's not going to stop a ballistic missile or an artillery shell, make it faster or make it
Yeah.
safer. So, like, if we're fighting someone who also can launch like massive missiles that blow up everything, why are we going to even waste time putting armor on some of these things? You know, like,
Yeah.
one of the units here just got these newer vehicles that almost look like warthogs from Halo. They're more open, they have less armor, they have more weapons. They're meant to be faster and hit hard, right?
Right, yeah, because I can imagine, like you just said, if it's like bulkier and stuff like that and more designed for like just the actual taking the hits, then it's not going to be as fast.
Exactly. So like fighting a near peer, these and they're like all terrain, so like they can go through like jungles, rocky areas. The Humvee will never go away because the Humvee isn't there to like do everything. The Humvee is there to support infantry, so
Mhm.
it can be armored. But even then, the newer Humvees they're a lot better than the ones we've had. They make more sense. But the army's introducing like more lightweight, more mobile, less armored vehicles
Hmm.
for different purposes,
Yeah, I
right?
didn't know
So the
that,
army's
but
evolving, and the
that's
equipment we
cool.
use is now evolving.
You guys train in like hand to hand combat?
Yeah, we do. It's called combatives.
How is that?
So there's levels to it. So there's combatives level 1, 2, and 3, and it's basically a mix between wrestling, jujitsu, like Muay Thai stuff like that.
Yeah, that's I love that stuff. Like,
Yeah, it's
I need to get back into it. Like, I need to do jujitsu or something like that.
like
Like, yeah, just like having that confidence of like I know how to defend myself and stuff like that, and like you can't fuck with me. You know, I'm sure it's really awesome.
it definitely is like a confidence boost to know that at the very least you can protect yourself if someone tries to attack you. And like we've had like combative tournaments where like people will like just straight beat the fuck out of each other. Like they'll really throw fist and fight. Like
Oh, that's cool.
it's like a whole culture thing. When your whole culture is about fighting wars, like the guys here, like when we were out in the field, like they were bored. All right, who's gonna wrestle? Right, it's
Yeah,
a whole
dude,
different culture.
wrestling's fun as shit.
They're like out there. We're in the middle of like a sandstorm. Everyone's wearing like goggles and like the full like Middle Eastern like scarves that wrap around your face and your head and everything because of sandstorms. And we're like watching
Was
these guys like roll around in the sand, like throw at each other.
was that like a simulation?
Yeah, so we go out to like a specific area where it's like meant to simulate another place besides Hawaii, and we go and train like how to shoot and take out targets and do stuff like that.
uh,
We do a
yeah,
lot of stuff. We'll be going to the Philippines for like a while pretty soon to train.
well, that's like where your next operation's gonna be.
Yeah.
Oh, another question. Do you guys like simulate torture and stuff like that? Like as if another faction was had you guys captive and they were torturing you?
Not all soldiers receive that training. We get like the most basic level of it, like what to say, what to do, what to give up, and what not to give up. Like how to
Right.
give up information without actually giving up real information.
Hmm.
But there's a school called SEER, which I believe stands for Survival, Evade, and Retaliate. It's a guerrilla warfare school, and yeah, it's so you have to learn how to do guerrilla warfare and survive behind enemy lines, but also like how to survive being captured. And like they get into some really brutal stuff, like beating you, locking you in boxes with no like sunlight, like
Ah,
crazy
that
stuff.
fucking sounds miserable, man.
It's miserable. There's rumors that like I don't know if they still do it, but there's rumors that they used to be able to like beat you and like pull like fingernails and stuff. I think they still pull fingernails. But like, yeah, they used to
Ah,
be able to like
fuck.
just actually pretty much legitimately torture you.
Did they do cock and ball torture?
I hope so. I would sign up immediately.
Fuck, dude, if they're doing that, forget it.
Bro, cock and ball,
Dude,
I'm in. Say less.
mirror,
It's a
mirror on the
mandatory.
wall.
It's a mandatory school you have to go to if you want to be special forces.
Oh, fuck that. Mirror, mirror on the wall, do torture, cock and ball. No, count me out. I asked the guys at the guitar store today, I was like, would you guys rather have your balls crushed by a cinder block, or would you rather be forced to sit on the Judas cradle? Most of them actually picked getting your balls crushed by a cinder block.
That's nah.
Yeah. Either
Actually,
way, okay, they that's like picking between like shit or vomit. Like,
yeah. Here it is. It's survival, evasion, resistance, and escape school, and it's meant to train U.S. military personnel to survive and return with honor in survival scenarios.
nice. And like when you go to sign up, you're just gonna be like, I love cock and ball torture.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, we keep torturing his boss. He won't give up any information. In fact, he seems to be liking it. That sucks.
Yeah, dude, that's a skill. If it doesn't bother you, that's a plus. I'm gonna put that
Yeah.
as like the caption of the video. Like Ethan loves cock and ball torture
No, don't do
O-
that, bro.
on
Don't out
himself.
me. Don't out me immediately like that.
No, I won't do that. Um, I'm just messing with you. Yeah. So like, well, actually, like moving over from the military stuff, and this all was really interesting. Like, it was really cool to hear someone, especially who's like someone who's my age, talk to you about this shit. And dude, that's like so badass. You're like you were talking, like you're shooting automated grenade launchers with like screens and joysticks. Like I didn't even think that that was like real. You know, like I just thought that was in movies and stuff. But
I
how
might actually have some. I might. One second. I'll send it over to you. It's gonna be on Snapchat.
definitely send me
But
some videos of that.
you can watch this clip. This was from not too long ago when we did training. That's the screen. That's what it looks like. Um,
This better look like some.
Turn the sound on. It's worth it.
Oh shit, dude.
Yeah, but
Man, that is really fucking cool.
yeah, it's really cool. It's really dope. See, that's the night version, but there's a version to see it normally.
Oh, where you actually just see what's in front of you.
Yeah, that video is taken at like 11, like 45 at night. Like,
I got you.
and
Yeah.
you see how clear that picture is. Like, you can make out the terrain features and the target. Like, there's no lights on. It is pitch black out there.
Yeah.
Like, the only light there was like stars, and that picture is that clear. Like, and that target was like 600 yards away, dude. It was far.
Or 600 yards, and you could still hit it like pretty accurately.
Yeah, they'll burst off. You actually, I think in the video you see him hit the target, you'll go down. He stops shooting, but yeah, like they're hitting these targets. Like, these targets are far,
Yeah,
but
that's cool,
yeah,
man.
it's really cool stuff. It's a great
Um,
experience.
right. I bet it is, which I will not do. But anyways, that was really cool to, like I said, hear someone who's my age explain this stuff to me, because there's a lot of stuff about this, that I don't know, and I'd like to learn more about it. And there's a bunch of other topics that are like that. But I wanted to ask you, how was Brother Martin? For those who don't know, that's the high school that Ethan went to in New Orleans.
I actually have no problem with it. I mean, I it was school, so like obviously I wasn't a huge fan, but like I felt like there was a pretty good sense of community. A lot of the teachers I did feel like cared, and to this
I
day, like a
got you.
lot of teachers I will like check in on and like update them on what I'm doing, and they actually care.
Yeah, that's actually really cool, man.
So like I think it's a great school. Like no problems with it. I mean, I've never
Unlike
had any
Jesuit.
issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, controversy
Yeah.
after controversy.
Right, that no, there's that, but also it's like there's no sense of community there. It's all just like awful. Everyone hates each other. Like people are like you're just either zombies or like
I
you're
feel
just
like
like
Jesuit just produces like at least like 85% of their classes like NPCs, bro.
I mean, I'm sure this is the thing, like I'm sure any other school in New Orleans I probably would have fucking hated anyways, but nah, Jesuit was so bad for like my mental health and stuff like that.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I've
I
and
can
I and
see
I
it. Y'all were crazy more strict than we were.
yeah, and like I've talked about this on fucking like other podcasts and stuff like that. Well, no, I mean even like the strictness that wasn't really that bad, but well, I mean it depends because like it depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking actually just about like disciplining your students and in that sense, like stop talking, do this, you need a haircut. Yeah, well, we definitely are, and also like the homework and shit. I can't stand that. I can't stand doing homework and just projects and papers and all that bullshit. So that's what I
Bro,
liked about my what.
it's like bro, you pay to go to school, right? We paid to go to school. Like why am
Right.
I going and doing stuff outside of school? Like bro, I pay to be here. Let's do this stuff
Literally.
now.
Yeah, literally, and that's why I really liked at this new school I went to in Virginia how basically the education process was essentially just like you just sit in the classroom and you listen. That's really it, and like you actually learn a lot more in that way. I mean, you can take notes if you want to, but it's not required.
I've never taken notes, dude, and I
No, fuck
literally am
notes.
I'm a licensed medical professional. Never took notes. Not even in medic school did I take notes.
Fuck them, dude. Yeah,
Look,
but
it's the way I learn. It works.
right, but I just don't think um Jesuits like Catholic enough because like Catholicism is really important to me. I've talked about this in extensive detail on the podcast before, and I'm sure people just know that about me now. Um, if you don't, that's just how I am.
You
I
and
take my
Gracie would get
religion.
along great, dude.
Yeah, I've actually talked to Gracie. Um,
You get her on the podcast, bro.
Yeah, I probably should have Gracie on the podcast. That'd actually be
She has
kind of
like a
cool.
whole like actually like crazy like Catholic, not crazy Catholic, but I mean crazy isn't like a large amount.
Well, hey, there's
You know what I
nothing wrong with
mean?
being crazy Catholic.
I'm not saying like Catholicism is like crazy. I'm just saying like very Catholic is what I'm trying to
No,
say.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know
But yeah,
something.
she has a whole
Hey,
platform, dude. Like an actual platform, like a whole account dedicated to it.
yeah, I should probably do that because like I kind of want to get rid of my social media.
Dude, bring her on here and like talk talk about like
Yeah,
hard to talk about topics that relate to religion. Be an interesting episode at least.
well, right, because a lot of people like there's just certain things about the faith that people just don't understand, and they can be hard for them to understand. I get why, but I just want to do it in like the most respectful way possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Um,
the most respectful way possible is to just talk about it like normal people. I think too often people feel like they're being talked down to about religion as if they're stupid for not understanding it. And I feel
right,
like
not
what a lot of people need to
yeah,
do is hear two teenagers who actually understand it talk about it.
right, because most teenagers obviously are not religious. Well, I mean, everyone's religious; they just don't think they are. Because it's impossible. Like Aristotle said this. He said like that human beings are religious by nature, meaning that like we all like human beings always worship things. It's like a universal kind of human thing. Like it's just in our nature, and so that's why like even if you're not like Christian or Muslim or Jewish, that or like if like even if you don't necessarily worship the Judeo-Christian God or Allah or Buddha or whoever it is, like you're still going to worship other things like, money or like fame or any of these different things. Like everyone has something that they worship, like they adore. You can't just like think of life as like it's just no meaning and there's nothing, like you can't not adore anything. This is impossible. Everyone has those things where like they're like, that like I love that. I love the shit out of that thing. Like that thing,
that
like that just that thing's dicking right now. That thing makes me dicking right now.
thing is
Um,
just that's the
eh,
shit.
right. Everyone has a thing where like that's sauce. Like that is some fucking gas. That's sauce. So it's interesting. Because like I was saying, not a lot of teenagers follow like organized religion. So that's why, yeah, it would be cool to talk to Gracie and just be like, hey, what can we do to like make people, you know, do organized religion? Well, and obviously there is only one religion. I think you can tell why I believe that, and I would like everyone to follow the same religion that we do. But yeah, that'd be fun to have her on.
Man, I mean, she loves talking about it. That's her thing. She has a lot of interesting opinions from what I've talked to her about it.
I've
Um,
never actually talked to. I mean, I know. I mean, I've said some like a few small things to her, like very brief, but like I know she's really Catholic now, and that's really cool. And I've seen her posts she's made about it.
she's pretty smart when it comes to it. She's pretty good at talking about it.
That's what I hope. I mean, have you heard any of my, like, I guess, like ways I've talked about certain teachings and whatnot?
I mean, like I've heard you talk about it, but I don't know like if I've ever heard you talk about anything like specific.
Okay. Like, what impressions do you get from my apologetics?
I mean, I think for the most part, it just you grew up Catholic, or at least interwoven with Catholicism, and I feel
Uh-huh.
like you see like the actual value in it, and don't give in to like what our culture now has the opinion of Catholicism of. You know what I mean? Like there's a very
Right.
negative view of Catholicism currently, and I feel like you do a good job of like expressing the actual truth of Catholicism and not let it be dragged down by like the controversy of what people see.
Thank you, man. I mean, what things, if you could point out specifically that I've said that you have kind of made you think that way, or it's just been illustrated to you in that way?
I mean, to take an example from like today, like even the way you expressed your support for it, you know what I mean, and how you've
Hmm.
talked about your like you can kind of like I don't know how like you just can tell because obviously you have that strong connection to it, and like the way that you want to like actually express your opinion and what you believe on it, because I'm sure you feel the same as me and a few other people that a lot of the time people don't actually understand what about Catholicism they're criticizing. You know what I mean? And I feel
Right,
like if
because
you get it,
there's yeah, because I feel well. Thank you so much for saying that. It means a lot to me, man. Because like that's just what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to just do it in the best way I can. But I think like a lot of people, they don't like really actually know what Catholicism is. Unfortunately, because the Latin rite of the church was just smited, and like all of our traditions were just taken from us essentially. So you've only been experienced to like the Catholic Church post 1970.
I think a
Um,
lot of people see like, oh, these old white men who have these fancy robes are telling me all about God.
right, and
But
that's
like the
bullshit.
point is that
Yeah.
they're missing is that for hundreds of years there was traditions and rites and things actually passed down from not just old white people in fancy robes. That is why we believe what we believe.
Right, and like yeah, it's like these things have existed for 2,000 years. You know, it's not just things that were invented in America post like World War I. It's like no, these things have existed for quite a long time, and there's reasons for them, obviously. But also, I think so. There's like what Catholicism actually is. What I was talking about, like Roman Catholicism, when everything is done in Latin, and there's a very specific protocol about how things are done, like the sacraments, stuff like that, which is completely different, and most people just have not experienced anything from the old rite. But there's that, and then which is actual Catholicism, and then you have people that like they have this like kind of distorted like, lampoon view of the Catholic Church, which is
Catholic
just the set
light.
right, which is like the census opinion. Like I remember in Family Guy, which I mean, this can sum it up a lot. And like, I think Family Guy has a lot of good stuff in it. It can be funny, but like this, like point I made when they were going to like alternate history, Stewie and Brian in the time machine or whatever. Which I actually typically like those episodes. I think they're pretty funny. But this one time, he was talking about this is would have happened in Europe if the Catholic Church hadn't oppressed everyone. I'm like, I mean, you first of all, you're kind of looking at things in a very superficial way. You're taking a bunch of things for granted, and also like you're filtering a lot of shit out. you know.
Yeah, I feel like that a lot of the time too. Like especially seeing like Catholics catch heat and like acting like Christians or like these crazy like conservative people who are just like imposing their will of religion on someone else and like having these beliefs and like oppressing people, quote unquote, but then ignore that the point of almost every religion is to spread what they believe to be the right thing. It would actually be shitty of them to not spread their belief. Like
Essentially, yes.
if like as a Christian, you like your belief system is, hey, I know that Jesus is going to save me or has saved me, and I'm going to go to heaven. And people need to believe in Jesus and go to heaven, right? You would kind of be a dickhead to not tell people because what you're
Well,
doing is
right,
you
yeah.
basically believe that, like, hey, you got to believe in Jesus, you got to get baptized. Like, this is how you get saved, right? If you're not sharing that with people, you're kind of just an asshole because
Well, yeah,
you're willingly just
essentially, yeah.
you're not sharing like savior. Like you're not sharing the idea of being like saved with someone. And like
Right, and there's
there's a big
also like
difference between like evangelizing and pressing things on people. Like
true and just being annoying because like you can evangelize in so many different ways that like you don't even realize it. But just like what we're doing right now, I can just be myself and I can just have a normal conversation. If you have a question, or like I mean I do this with Jason on the podcast, like if he has a question about something about the faith, I'll gladly answer him. Or if anything is brought up about it, I will answer him. But I'm not gonna always be like, hey, so like, hey, this is how this thing's going, dude. You remember this? What are you doing this seriously? I'm not. No, that's not how I roll, and that's not how I think most people should roll. Obviously, um, the other thing is that people don't realize that like this whole like oh like I mean they just have you thinking a certain way. It's like every human being is taught to think a certain way, whether it's the right way or the wrong way, a little bit of both. Like every human being is influenced by the human beings around them, and their beliefs, their values, like their morals are gonna be derived from someone else and what came before you. So like, don't give me this whole thing like you're not letting people think for themselves. Like, no, they let people think for themselves. Like, I didn't
The
explain
thing
that very
is,
well, but
I was in like Catholic school from like third grade all the way up to when I finished school entirely, and a lot of the time we were taught things, but it was also like they encourage you to have questions, to challenge it, and you
right, it
like
like you
the
weren't never
Catholic faith
allowed to. Yeah,
has all these writings, all these opinion not opinions, but like people writing so that other people can understand. You have famous greats like Saint Thomas Aquinas who wrote stuff so that people who are thinking and might be critical or confused about something in the faith have legitimate authorities to which they can actually learn. It's not telling people what to think. It's telling people this is what we think, and if you have any questions about it, let us explain to you why we believe it.
all
There's
right, and they're like,
nothing in the Catholic Church is like, look, you just gotta believe this, bro. You just have to.
yeah, no, exactly. Like, it's a complete just misinterpretation. It's a misconception. It's just like it's just this lampoon popular culture view of the Catholic Church, which is wrong.
I think also now a lot of people view the Catholic Church as like a political entity, not just its like religious
Okay, the church has
value.
always been a political end. Like, you cannot have human society without politics. I'm sorry, like it just you can't do it.
My whole thing with that whole like criticism that Catholicism is a political entity is like so is the religions that you champion. Like
Precisely.
I'm not Islamophobic, right? Or like I support like if you want to be
Nor am
Muslim,
I.
like I'm not gonna like tear you apart, right? Even if I disagree or believe opposite, right? But that's a political entity. There's in the Middle East, there's several just Islamic states. Saudi Arabia is an Islamic state. Afghanistan is now the Islamic state.
Mm-hmm.
Like these are political entities. Islam controls that country. Its laws are based off the laws of that religion.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
the
That's why.
church does is
Yeah,
say, hey, this is our opinion, and our followers are probably going to be like, okay, that lines up with my moral compass, right? And they're going to vote that way. There is
precisely.
the church isn't part of the country, but someone's like religious views because your religion forms your moral compass, and you vote on your moral compass, right? If the Catholic Church teaches the value of human life, right, and teaches all this stuff, and has this belief system that's interwoven with Catholicism, and an issue pops up on the ballot that involves one of the things, you're gonna vote the way that you believe, whether it was
All
formed by
right.
your religion
That's
or by your people or family or friends, whatever you believe, you're still voting based on your belief system.
precisely. I mean, that's why I vote the way I do. And it's like if people have a problem with that, I'm like, guys, like I'm not like I keep saying this, and I said this in the last podcast. I am not the one making the rules. What I have to say, essentially, like it does nothing to you. I mean, yeah, it can make you offended, it can make you sad, it can make you mad, it can do all these things, but it's like you still have dignity as a human being. Like, I'm not trying to take that from you, but it's like there are just certain things in our society where I'm like, these issues matter to me, and if you think otherwise, then like we're probably gonna be hostile towards one another. I mean, obviously, like we can still talk about other things, but these issues matter to me. Obviously, I'm not just gonna be a dick, like I said, but just take into account that these things really do matter to me.
I mean, I, I I agree. Like you vote because of the way that you believe, right? And your
Yeah.
faith forms that. And for people to act like somehow it's your faith's fault and that your faith is acting as a political entity, right? And like accusing you of only doing it for your religion, right? But it's like, how do they vote? Based on what they believe is right. But how did they come to believe what they believe is right? You know what I mean? Like they
Well,
have a belief
right.
system just the same as you, whether it's based on Islam or Judaism or Maybe they, I don't know, dude. Man, might be Norse pagan. Maybe they're atheists, and their morals come from the people they're around and their experiences,
Zoroastrian, you know.
right? Maybe shit. Maybe they're a witch and they like play with crystals and rocks and stuff. That's their religion, right?
Right, like
But
everyone has a thing in their head that's like feels right, this feels wrong. That's why I don't like the whole like, oh, well, you're just using like an emotion based argument. I'm like, all arguments are made based on emotion because you want something to be true. Like,
I mean, to be honest, even the idea that a human life matters is an emotional argument, right?
exactly.
You're a
Like,
human, you're an animal. You are life, right? The only thing that differentiates you from any other animal is your level to think, right?
yeah.
So for me to act like if someone says, "Hey, murder's legal because humans matter. Human life matters." Right? But that's an emotional based like argument. There's no science that points that we matter anything more than any other thing, right?
We just
So
feel that way, you know?
so you just because you see and what you grew you believe, hey, murder is wrong because humans have value. But scientifically and the laws of the universe, you don't. It's an emotional based thing that you've formed and we have formed as people. But in like the cosmic like world and science, technically you don't matter. It's your religion, your belief system, your emotions that determine that you do.
Right. And
But
that's why I mean, that's why I kind of like argue for the existence of God in that way because like we always have this kind of back and forth, argument in our head like, wait, what is this? What is that? What is that? And like we always try to figure out what is like the best thing, you know? And if like there is like just that ideal best thing that we can just think of in our heads, like you said, there is no empirical scientific data that can say that. It's just that's literally what we feel. And we just have this thing as humans to try to do the right thing and try to figure out what's good, you know?
I mean,
And it's
I think
because there is an ultimate good, you know? And we're just
yeah,
trying to match that.
it's no coincidence that if I take a culture from Native America, right, like ancient America, and like I take someone from China, they both value life, right?
Yeah.
And they both evolve to have pretty similar morals, right? They're gonna evolve to, they're both gonna go to war. You're gonna see both will have greed. Both of them will develop religions, most of which in the world will involve a mother or a father figure entity, right?
That's
They'll
why
all
that's
decide that murder is
sorry.
wrong. They'll all decide that
Yep.
thieving is wrong. Like everyone in the world somehow develops at one point in time similar right and wrong and similar religions and ideals. There's absolutely no way statistically that that should be possible because even in areas like, bro, how would an ancient like Mayan or Aztec or Iroquois understand the concepts and have similar morals to the morals in which Europeans had? They had no connection and no way to share ideas. But yet you'll see that both of them will have religions that have father figures, mother figures. Both of them will value human life. I mean,
There's
shit,
also
burying
like
people, almost every
yeah,
culture on the planet.
yeah, remembering the dead. Also another thing, wearing clothes. Like there's no human culture that doesn't wear clothes.
Like the idea that like we all somehow develop these social constructs, right? That are literally the same across the globe. It's impossible. Like
Exactly.
there has to be some intrinsic truth if everyone in disconnected parts of the world are developing similarly.
Right, and that's why like I take issue with like the kind of sentiment that certain issues like homosexuality or like like you said like the value of human life or like the or like even monogamy or something like that. These aren't just exclusive to like Abrahamic religions and stuff like that. Like if you ask like if you see any human culture across all of the board, like most of the most people would see all of those things I just mentioned, and they would probably think they're all taboo. Less so monogamy, but that's different.
Monogamy, yeah, but I mean, like,
That's more of an outlet. But like, I mean, homosexuality and like just like knowing that like murdering people is wrong, and like
well,
remembering the
homosexuality is
dead.
even a weird one because like there was some cultures that are pretty big into homosexuality. Cough,
Oh,
cough. Greeks. Um,
yeah.
we
Well,
know
I
who we're
mean,
talking about.
yeah. I mean, you can also see it like, but honestly, like all of that stuff comes out. Like all of these things come out when like a culture is just so advanced, and they're like, we don't know what the fuck to do anymore. So it's like,
I
may as
mean,
well.
I mean, I feel that. But like, yeah, it's. I just don't think it's a coincidence at all that like all these people will eventually develop similar morals. Like, what intrinsically tells you that a human life is valuable? Because it looks like you,
And
because
you
because
just have that
it
connection with the
talks,
soul. Yeah.
right? So like we have animals that can talk to us, right? But you don't give them the value of a human, right? We have animals that have certain traits that we do that we think are pretty human traits. Like for example, chimpanzees will go to war and use tools. It's a very human trait. Chimpanzees are like one of the only animals in the world that will actively go to conflict, war between groups,
Yeah.
like
Well,
for
okay.
realistic human like reasons.
Well,
So
not
like
exactly the same thing, but it's similar.
it's not the same
But
thing, but like
no,
we
but
don't
it's
give
connected.
them,
It's connected, definitely.
yeah, we don't give them the same value, right? It can't be about love, right? Because you love your dog, but that dog does not hold human value. You would
No, and
still
like
pick a human over your dog, right? At least a human you care about, right?
right, and
So,
also like the dog doesn't love you the same way that you love him.
right. So, like, there's a point where you have to realize, like, why does human life have value? You really have to look at it
Exactly.
because, like, if everything that I've heard people say, well, humans matter because of this. Well, so this thing does it too. Maybe it's because they look like you, right? But I still think that people who don't look like me have value, right?
Right.
Like some fucking like 6'7" dude from fucking Kenya doesn't look anything like me, right? But he still has
Yeah.
value, and I still acknowledge he's a human, right? He doesn't have
Right, and you
any
you
like
like yeah, you can just look at him in the eyes, and like you guys both know like you're humans.
like I know it's still wrong to murder him, right? Like
Right,
I
it
know he's
definitely.
human. He has value, even though like he's way taller than me. We might not be the same skin color, not same eye color. Might have a different nose or facial shape. Maybe his teeth are a little whiter than mine, or maybe he has like a missing front tooth. Right? He doesn't look like me. Different hairstyle, different clothes, different culture, but he's still a person, right?
Right.
So
Right, and
like
like people take for granted the fact that like before, like obviously with like the slave trades and all that stuff, which is still awful, obviously. But we look at that in the lens of like knowing that it is wrong to like judge someone just by like the way they look or the color of their skin. But like you guys don't remember that like these two people had like they had never even seen each other ever before. Like they could have never conceived of like the person that looked like that or vice versa. So it's like I think it makes logical sense that they would have been at odds with each other.
I don't. I mean, slavery is still evil. I mean, we still shouldn't like kill people for
Definitely,
it.
that's what I'm saying.
But
I mean,
like,
but we look at it
but like,
with the the priest like the knowledge that that is wrong, which like
but
back
like,
then
if
these
we
people
like all of a
didn't.
sudden like discovered like say we discovered like green bipedal creatures, right? They don't share language with us. They don't like. They probably don't look like us. No same culture. They're not maybe not as advanced, right? Because when Europeans showed up, Africans were still using like swords and spears and shields, and these guys showed up with
Yeah,
cannons and rifles, right? So, like, if we showed up and we found this culture of different skinned, different looking, different culture, different languages, do you really think that people wouldn't be at odds or at least skeptical of the value or
At least skeptical.
treatment?
Like
Like
they're gonna
now we
have
have
they're
like a very like intense
well,
like value of people, right? We've gone through the whole racism thing, we know, right? But at the time when ideas like that weren't even a thing, right? Racism didn't even exist because there was no other race.
yeah, in everyone's minds, in every respective race's mind, they were the only race.
And like
And
even
like,
like you see treatment like that even like when Chinese people or Asian people discovered that white people exist through like the silk trade and everything, they were still freaked out, bro.
yeah, and like for good reason. And also like, I mean, like just think about it this way. Like now, someone like you or me, we have history textbooks or like the internet where we can literally just look up China and we can see what it looks like instantly. We can see what their architecture, people, clothing, everything, food, everything. We can know everything to know there is to know about China vicariously through the internet, through visual picture, like visuals essentially. But like back then in like the 1800s, you probably would have no fucking idea what like Chinese people looked like. And if you ever did see that, you'd be like, hold up.
Like, yeah, like it's a thing that happens across the world. Like, sure, it definitely got abused, right? But you see this like weird like interactions between all the races like everywhere. I mean, like when the first black man shows up to Japan, they tried to wash the black off his skin.
Oh man.
Like, like when you have different people and they interact for the first time, obviously they're going to be like kind of skeptical of each other. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, in the case of like slavery in Africa and everything, people thought the wrong way and abused it. And I'm sure they realized that they were abusing what was going
Well,
on.
sure. I mean, that's why we've had this whole like relapse on it. Well, no, 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 that's not relapse. Like this whole like, yeah, this was bad. Let's like stop doing this.
Like, I'm sure someone was like, oh, these people look different. I think we get away with using them as labor because no one's going to question it because they're different. And we can like totally sell the whole like they're inferior because they don't look like us thing. Like, I'm
Right.
sure someone probably thought like that. Someone was definitely like, oh, look, these people don't think like us, dude. Easy. But
Right. And like they're also like
terrible,
readily available and stuff like that.
terrible,
Yeah.
terrible people ruin that whole thing. And
Right. Man, it is
it's a
sad.
shame it happened at all. But like
Yeah.
the world entirely has evolved way past that, which is good.
Yeah. That is a good thing.
It's so weird thinking about like the internet now, especially. What I don't get is the fact that we have the internet, like one of the best ways to educate yourself shortly, anywhere pretty much, without even getting out of bed, and yet people are still stupid. How?
I
Like
know, because like I mean, people just don't know how to use it properly.
people like say stuff, and it's like, bro, I will pull out my phone right now and within 15 seconds show you that you're wrong.
Exactly. Like that's crazy. It's like it's an encyclopedia of anything you could ever possibly want to know,
Like you have
except
access to
for
like everything except for classified documents. But like then again, what are you talking
yeah, but
about that needs access to classified documents, huh?
yeah, exactly. Right.
But
Like we
like
have more access to any info. Like you could potentially be smarter, the average person, than Isaac Newton. You know.
you could know more than pretty much anyone in history, right? Like you
Exactly.
could be like 10 times more knowledgeable than like the average like Roman civilian. Like there's no excuse to be uneducated on stuff. Absolutely none. Like
Pretty much.
see people like post stuff or say stuff that you know is just untrue and easily accessible. Like it just shows no effort, and it's like you have access to like the greatest educational thing maybe in human history to ever exist. The internet is easily one of the most advanced ways that we've developed to spread knowledge and preserve information since like written language.
Oh yeah, because
Like
written language is the biggest thing that it's one of the biggest things that distinguishes humans from other animals is because like there's no ape history in the way that there's human history, because it's like apes are in trees. They were in trees. They're gonna be in trees eating bananas.
They
Like
climb and they reproduce and they be in
right.
the
It's like
trees.
yeah, they be in the trees, dude, just eating their bananas. It's like what and like why is it that they never change? Why is it that they never evolve? Why do they not have this need to like develop things and like they never write things down. They never think like, oh, this was important. I have to like remember that this thing was there. It's like the cave paintings and stuff like that. Like humans have this like art. Like no animals do art or history or anything like
Human
that.
like human language and written language, basically like the human ability to store information outside of their brains, right? And to
Yeah.
transfer this information down is probably the most important human discovery ever.
Yeah.
100%. Because, like, we know so much and have avoided so much bad stuff because we had that, right? Like, we get so many good ideas, so much stuff that we use to this day that people have come up with, right? Like, we knew
A wheel.
fuel,
That's a big thing we take for granted.
fire. I'm sure it's written down somewhere where to make fire,
Yeah.
like the ingredients for certain things. There's instructions on how to forge weapons, right?
Yeah.
Every military in the world keeps schematics and like written manuals of every single item. Like we have a truck, right? We have an FLA, a field litter ambulance, right? An army ambulance. We have a
Mm.
manual with every single nut, bolt, screw that is a part of that vehicle.
Yeah, because it's important.
Everything.
Like it matters.
You could get your hand on a manual, and if you could find the materials, you could build that thing from the bottom up.
Yeah.
That's why
Science
it's
matters.
important. That's why it's
Science does
important.
matter.
Someone in the near future could be looking at army manuals and seeing pretty much the exact instructions on how to clean, clear, fire, build, deassemble, reassemble, fix an M4 within seconds of a Google search.
Yeah.
Like our ability to transcribe stuff rocketed us to where we are. Think
Yep.
about it. If
It's
you go,
writing.
how long before we started writing stuff down did humans exist? Thousands and thousands of years. But then you start at written history. Watch how fast we progress.
The Bible.
Like, if you go from, like, think of something crazy. Like, it took us a shorter time to go from swords to, no, it took us longer to go from, like, steel swords to nuclear bombs than it took us to get from bronze swords to steel swords.
That's so crazy.
Like, once you begin human history, look how fast that development is. That
Yeah, no, it's crazy,
like
especially in the last like since
2000
like
like
they
2022 years, right? Jesus was alive. They were using swords and shields. 2000 years and they can drop bombs that unleash the power of suns. That's absolutely crazy because it took 2000 years to build some of the pyramids.
yeah,
Think
no,
of
because
how
like 2000 years
crazy
is
that is.
very
It's not a
relatively
lot of
short.
time at
No,
all.
it's not. It is really not.
The majority of human history, we had like the most primitive tools, but somehow in like the last 2000 years we have skyrocketed. We have landed on different planets. We've landed on the moon. We've sent missions to Mars. We've seen what the surface of other planets look like. And 2000 years ago, like they were still like horse and buggy with swords. They didn't know some of the places on the earth existed yet. And now you can go on the internet and watch a live feed of the world spinning.
Yeah, that's fucking like all of the shit that we can do, man.
Shit, monkeys been around for fucking hundreds of
Yeah,
thousands of years, bro. Monkeys can't even use rocks. Like
yeah. I'm like,
that's
what the
some of
fuck?
them
Why?
use rocks.
I'm like, why can't they? They're like, because they don't have souls, man. They don't have God.
Like
Humans are made in the image and likeness of God, and that's how we're able to adapt, and that's how we're able to develop and stuff like that. You know.
I think the biggest impressive feat I think humans have like achieved is my personal theory that humans have evolved to a point in which evolution no longer really applies to us.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way of putting it. I never thought about it like that.
Because look, like here's my reason for saying that. Right? How do normal animals evolve? The weaker die out. Right? People who like animals who have softer bones or have these genetic issues. Right? If a dog gets cancer in the wild, the dog's gonna die and probably not reproduce and pass that on. Right?
They have no incentive to like protect that other dog that's
Right?
sick. You know, they'll just leave it behind. You know.
But somehow our humanity and our ability to care about others and their value of life has saved millions, probably billions of
Right.
people, right?
That's how we're
The
able to grow
advancements
and like
in
continue our
medicine,
species. Yeah.
like say, like like someone breaks their arm right in middle school, you see them the next day they have a cast. It's like it never happened, right?
Yeah,
You
and
go
it'll
to
be fine.
like thousands and thousands of years ago, you break your arm, you're dead.
Yep,
You're
pretty much.
useless. You're going to die. But humans have literally propelled themselves so far that not even the natural force of evolution can determine which humans die. Humans save way more, right? People who have these crazy diseases that would pretty much render them useless will now live years and years. Like, there's people who have AIDS who lived into like their 50s, right? Like,
Yes. There's
like
also people that can live into like a fucking 100 years old. You know, like
people who
that's insane.
fight cancer. Like there's people who get cancer and are just fine after treatments. There's people who their appendix will rupture, right? That's deadly, but we can treat it, and they'll get their appendix removed, and they'll continue on with their life,
You can get a
right?
brain transplant. You get a heart transplant. You know,
When they were fighting with swords, right? You got stabbed with a sword, you're probably gonna die, right?
there's no way to
Nowadays,
protect
you
the
get
wound.
stabbed with like a projectile, right? You're gonna live, most likely, right?
Yeah.
Our advancements, and here's the thing: all these advancements, like, what's the incentive, right, to save human life? What other animals don't do anything? Like, what other animal like propels themselves forward for the sake of saving others of their species?
And no other one does.
They don't, right? So humans have evaded evolution effectively because now there is no survival of the fittest. Everyone survives because we're that strong now that we can.
Yeah.
Like like worry about predators. No one needs to worry about a predator if since we invented the Glock, okay? That's not a
But
thing. The
yeah, the
only the
Glock
only
and just
predator that
urbanization. Yeah.
the only predator that most people on earth even have to worry about as their number one fear of predators should be other humans.
Either that or just certain insects, I guess, that can spread diseases. But like those aren't predators.
Like like tigers, lions, hippos, crocodiles, combine all of them, and I promise you more people have been killed by humans.
That's actually another good point I never thought about.
We are the apex of creation on earth right now. And probably
Yes,
ever.
and like you're not arrogant by saying that. I can't stand when people think that it's like an arrogant viewpoint. It's like,
Well, we're just a small blip in Earth history. The Earth has been around what 13 point something billion years. It took us 2,000 to master the sun.
yeah, that's another
You,
thing,
you,
right?
you think the dinosaurs are stopping a 50 cal round? I don't think so.
Right. It's like,
I challenge anyone who
what?
thinks it's arrogant to say that humans are the pinnacle of creation on Earth to give me one other creature that is more advanced, gotten farther than we have. There's no ants, there's no tigers or elephants on the moon. There's no fucking cat in space that's still alive, right?
I mean, you just
We
fucking
are
killed it.
we are the pinnacle of creation. No one scientifically, no other species in biology is as strong in their survival as we are. We went from what? Tiny, probably like a tribe, right?
It
Dominated the
was
globe,
it was the Hebrews. Yeah.
right? So like we went from monkeys to in space. You can go most places on Earth and still be close to people. Every continent has billions, if not millions at least,
But
right?
we can
So
also get there really fast through like airplanes and stuff like that.
like no one has evolved like us. Even animals that we think are super smart, right? Where's the dolphins' guns? Why aren't they in space? Right? They
Precisely.
have we call it like dolphins, like we consider dolphins, right, to be crazy smart,
Yeah,
right?
the fucking velociraptors, man.
Right? Dolphins and chimpanzees were like, these are the smartest animals, right? They're so smart. Look, they use tools, right? Isn't that
Mm.
crazy? The
Oh,
everyday
octopus. Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
like an everyday person would blow that animal into the sky with how much smarter they are than them. Like
Yep.
you're impressed because they put a rock in their hand and smashed it against their food and was like, "Oh, this is solid."
Yeah, or
But
like an
somehow humans
octopus,
aren't
you
the
know.
best creation ever created when humans started off with a rock in their hand and now fire rocks at anything they wish with like a trillion times more strength. Like I can take a little piece of lead and send it miles. Like
Yeah.
there's no creature ever to be as successful as we are. Ever. 13 point something billion years of the earth being around. You think anything would come close to us? No, they haven't. The most advanced things that we've seen are our ancestors or monkeys. And they're only advanced because they can kind of think and use tools. Dinosaurs didn't use tools.
No.
Mice don't use tools. Like 13 point something billion years, right? If humans aren't special, then how come no other species has done it before? And
Dude,
no
you're
one will
explaining
do it
this so
after.
well. You were explaining this so well. Like I'm so glad you've gone on this rant. This is excellent, dude.
Because it's annoying seeing people be like, you have like I saw this thing on TikTok today. It was like, guys, don't stress out because really in the scheme of things, you're just a small blimp in this vast amount of space, and life really doesn't have any like real purpose. You're just here, and it's like you how how do you explain how much superiority we hold over every living being on the planet?
It's like can
Like
here's another thing. I'm like, can any like you see like an octopus opening a jar and you're like, whoa, and then it's like, can an octopus have a podcast with me? Like, can he ever understand what we're doing? No.
you know who else can open a fucking jar, dude? My fucking little cousin can open a fucking glass jar, dude. A fucking child.
Yeah.
Like the average American can open jars. Like I could hand some like poor, half starving fucking child somewhere in the globe a glass jar, and I promise you they'll open it. Like, am I supposed to be impressed? Y'all get crazy excited when other creatures do the bare minimum, but you have people who literally are like figuring out the dimensions of space and coming up with theories using math as to how black holes exist. And you're just like,
Yeah.
humans are kind of lame, bro.
I know. It's like
If
black holes. Like, what the fuck even are
if
those?
if
Like,
humans are so smart, why do they shoot each other? If humans are so smart, right? If humans are so dumb, right? How come they can shoot each other? Like that's what you don't understand, right? Like their arguments as to why humans suck are also arguments for why humans are crazy great, right?
well,
They
yeah,
kill each
they
other,
prove it
but
without
how?
even
How?
realizing. Yeah,
How?
exactly.
Like, yeah, they fight wars. You know what else it takes to fight wars? Intelligence, right? Because yeah, they're killing people, right? That's so sad. We're so savage and not advanced at all, right? How'd they kill that person? Oh, it's crazy. With a rocket propelled missile fired from halfway
Technology. Yeah.
across the planet. Like,
Yeah.
human beings are not dumb by any means, nor are they inferior to anything. Like, they play by the rules of nature, right? We like for New Orleans is an even better example, right? That whole city is a huge middle finger to Mother Nature in general.
It shouldn't exist because of like the elevation it's at. It's so below sea level. Like
It
it
should
just
sink, right?
so
But the
yeah,
humans were like,
exactly.
no, we're gonna build a city here, block the water, right? I like look, even beavers don't actually
it's
stop the water.
fucking beavers, man.
We redirected one of the largest rivers on the planet to form a shitty city. Why? Because we fucking can. Like, there's not one thing that makes us inferior to anyone. And people need to realize why.
I mean, yeah, like maybe you could say physical strength. You know, it's like apes are, yes, they are physically stronger than us, but it's like we got the brains, man.
Brains is always better than brawn, right? Because like
We
humans
can
realize,
blow
hey,
them up, you know.
we're not strong enough to fight this animal. Let's make spears. Oh, spears doesn't make us strong enough to fight that animal. Perfect. Move on. We've invented this. Oh, it doesn't work. Invent this, right? So we've always done. Why did we stop using swords? Because we invented guns. We are always
Dude,
getting more efficient.
swords are so badass though. I wish we still did that.
Bring them back, dude.
Yeah, dude, sword play. I would love to do like that shit.
Dude.
Like the Crusaders and shit. Oh, those guys are badass.
Yeah. I mean, swords are pretty dope, dude. Those battles, dude. Like, imagine being in like that mass of soldiers, dude. That's crazy. Like
Yeah, like
how
in
big the
Braveheart or
scale is,
something.
dude. Like the
Yeah.
scale of those battles is ridiculously large.
Yeah, or
Like
like in Lawrence of Arabia or stuff like that's epic shit, you know.
you watch movies and it's like that's not really. But like you look at actual written history once again, dude. Like some of these armies are like tens of thousands, if not like in large battles, like 100,000 soldiers. Like
Oh yeah.
these are huge, bro. Like I think it's a lot when I show up to like a brigade ceremony and it's a few battalions, but that's like a few thousand people, right? That's still big,
Yeah.
bro. Like
Yeah.
with 100,000 soldiers marching, bro, you're literally shaking the ground. Like that's it's
Literally.
amazing, dude. Like,
Yeah.
do you see those scenes in movies where like they know the soldiers are coming because the rumbling of the ground, bro? 100,000 soldiers, bro. Dude, we have like 100,000 active military members. Like
That is hilarious.
that is so much soldiers to be in one battle, bro. Like the ground is absolutely shaking. Like if you're shaking a stadium, right? And it's like Tiger Valley, what's it say? Like a few tens of thousands, right?
Something like that.
That
Yeah.
thing shakes when you're cheering for a football team. Imagine like 100,000 fucking Roman soldiers, bro. That's crazy the scale that's on. We don't do that anymore. Those types of scales don't exist anymore. Like, it's just cool, like seeing how wars fought now and how things used to happen and the scale of how big things were. And like, it's impressive to get 100,000 people when your whole world is like the Mediterranean. Like, that's impressive, bro. We have all of America. We're pulling in like 100, 200,000 people total.
Yeah,
Like,
like just think about communications and how like the Roman Empire was able to exist. Like they didn't have cameras, they didn't have computers, they didn't have like texts and stuff like that. It's like how the fuck were they able to even like maintain this, you know, across seas, across from like from Scotland all the way to Persia. Like it's insane how big the Roman Empire was.
yeah, I
And
mean,
how it was all able to be coordinated, you know, like with the communications and like the actual time it took to send messages, you know.
standardized currency, bro. Like these
Yeah,
are
currency too. Yeah.
revolutionary fucking ideas, bro.
Yeah, the Romans are pretty badass.
Romans are, dude. Romans are like our guideline.
Well, yeah, that's. I mean, they're the Romans and the Greeks are the foundations of Western civilization.
Like even like to this day. Like I explained to you what rucking was with the whole backpack full of weight, right? And like walking long distances.
Hmm.
Take a swing at who invented that first.
Right, and also like you said, standard currency, armor. Well, again, not
The
necessarily just
idea of a
armor.
republic, like
Yeah,
that is a Roman idea.
right, politics.
Elected
Um,
officials who vote for you, right? Like,
sports. That's another thing, like with the Coliseum and stuff like that. Stadium,
um,
Coliseum. Like
um,
entertainment. That entertainment. Well, I guess every culture is like singing and dancing and stuff like that and having fun around a fire, but like the actual idea of like your job is to like be like like a gladiator and like entertain people, like those people working in the entertainment industry.
they're also the Romans are the first were the first people to ever invent a active standing military, like professional soldiers,
True,
which
that's
is why
another
they
thing.
dominated for so long. Because like right, like back before that was a thing, you just be like, okay, any farmer of fighting age, come with me. We're gonna go fight this battle, right?
Pretty
And so
much.
like it was like kind of shitty because like these aren't trained soldiers. They don't actively go be soldiers every day. But then the Romans were like, no, we're gonna make a active standing military that will always fight the wars and will always be soldiers. And
Yeah.
that's why they were so proficient. They had the best discipline, and they set the standard for discipline being what makes militaries great because these guys dedicated their whole lives, right? Their whole like most of their lives because they didn't live too long, right? But like they're professional soldiers, the first to do it, which allowed
Yeah.
for them to be way more deadly, way more disciplined, way better equipment, more standardized, quicker
Yeah, and like
movement.
they had training programs, like they had like models and stuff like that.
I think they had
Like
a
to
bit
live
like a
up to.
basic training esque like training regiment. Like these soldiers, when they weren't fighting, were training, which is exactly what we do in every military in the world does. Like these are the first active standing soldiers, which means while society could continue, these soldiers could still fight wars, which is what we see.
Yeah.
The idea that like the Roman Empire is still able to continue to exist and work and function while the like the peasants and like the battles are still being fought, like crazy.
Yeah, and also
Like
like laws and all of like these legal things. Like that's a very Roman thing. Like even the word legal, it comes from Latin.
all of our buildings are based off their architecture in honor,
Right, them and the Greeks too. Like all the
and we
columns and like
we
the
use Latin terms
yeah.
a lot of the time when referring to certain parts of our legal system, right?
Oh
Habeas
yeah, like
corpus is Roman or
yeah.
Latin.
Yeah, also like just, legal, like I said, that adjective, but also there's just tons of different terms from Latin, not just from the church. I mean, that's also important too in like religious context, but also like just terms like de facto, that's from Latin. Um like like I know there is examples. I'm just I'm trying to get one off the top of my head. Um I mean, it is the language of the law, I know. And like you have to have some kind of knowledge of Latin in like if you want to be like a lawyer and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of legal terms I know, which like I said, I don't know them necessarily off the top of my head, but I know they are Latin and stuff like that.
Roman is the start of real. Well, Greeks are like
No,
the start of
Greece was,
yeah,
yeah,
but I think Roman is like the first like empire to do it to show it on a huge scale.
right.
Because
Because there was
these
never like,
Greeks, they're city states, right? It works in a city. Romans were the first one to be like, look, it works over large area.
well, right, and it was also unified, and there was like a Roman like unity. But like with Greece, they were all like Greece wasn't really like a unified country until like the 19 whatevers. But like before that, like you said, yeah, it was just city states that were all they were kind of separate from each other. They didn't exactly speak the same language. They spoke something that was very similar, and they all really ethnically similar, but they were all city states that weren't unified. And it's like the Romans did it because they were unified and they were able to actually like, standardize everything.
Yeah, I mean they because like it's one thing for a city to do it. It's one thing for a massive empire to do it, especially one as successful as the Romans were.
Well, and also you can see like Roman culture bleed its way into like the Roman Church, even.
I mean,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, like just with the way that the churches look, the way that like the liturgy is, and like obviously the liturgical language is that of Latin.
Hmm.
It was really cool to see because it's really cool to see how Catholicism can touch different cultures, because it's cool to see like, oh, because we forget that Europe was pagan before it converted to Christianity. So it's cool to see how like, oh, this is how the Romans kind of have their thing going on with Christianity. This is how the Eastern Christians had their kind of thing going on with Christianity. Like also, if you go to churches in Japan, they're like won't even be pews. You'll just see people kind of doing sitting the crisscross applesauce style. It's really cool to see how it can touch different cultures.
Yeah, I mean, it is the Western Church. I mean,
That is
Christianity has
the
woven
yeah,
itself into like Western culture.
it's the Roman Church. Yeah.
I mean, the Roman Empire personally is one of my like favorite times to like learn about because like how much everything they did still it happens.
Oh yeah, they have somewhat. Well, also like their history is really like it's extensive. We know a lot about it. We can translate a lot of their stuff really well. Um, yeah, it's also interesting. Like I love their aesthetic. I love Roman armor. I love like the togas and stuff like that. And I love like just like those kind of leaf branch thingies that they would wear in their hair. Those look really cool. And also like the royal armor like that the emperors would wear. That's really cool. I love like their architecture. I think is just gorgeous.
The
Like
idea of like the standard, the eagle standards, that's really cool. Still a tradition
yeah,
carried on by most militaries as well.
yeah.
Not an
Oh,
actual
oh,
like golden eagle, but like a representation of that unit that holds value.
right. Yeah. Also like the aqueducts. Those are so impressive. Like
Yeah,
they could just
I've
give water to like the whole
didn't
city.
Rome also have actual flushing, like actual working plumbing?
I don't know about that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I read that it existed. I think towards the end of the empire, but I heard that it existed at one point.
Yeah, something like that. I can imagine. I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised. They're cool, man. They're. I mean, there's a reason why we learn about them in school.
I mean, today's culture, you never know what will be canceled. I mean,
Oh no, I mean everyone. I mean the Romans are shit on all the time.
definitely all the time.
Right. I mean, yeah. I'm like I know they've done bad things, but like there's a lot about their culture that's really important and that we take for granted.
What I don't like is like seeing people like be like dissing it as if it's like somehow old and we shouldn't abide by it and we need something newer. It's like it's just I don't think people understand like why we
No,
have
they
it and
they
why we
don't.
use it.
They never actually sit down and they're like, well, I mean, no, they did sit down and think why, but it's like they understand why you do need to actually like abide by this stuff.
The, like people are like, "Oh, it's such an old idea," but then you look at like the success it's had, and it's like, "Come on."
Right. Yeah, exactly. And also and there's another thing like traditional gender roles. Like there's a reason why men do like physical labor. Like that's why they build all of like the infrastructure for societies, and that's why they do all the hunting to like take care of like their families and stuff like that. And that's why like the women do all of like they make all the clothing and they like take care of like actually maintaining all this stuff, because that's just what they're better suited to do. And there's a reason why it's so successful, like you said, and why it lasted for like 2,000 years. Well, actually a lot more before that. More like what was like when was Abraham? Like that was probably like 4,000 years ago, probably even more than that.
I mean, I agree completely.
Right. That's why I don't think it's offensive to say that like no like the only societies that accept homosexuality and things like that are just cultures that have developed so much where there is the option for that. Because in all these other societies that aren't as developed, it's like there was no option for that because that's how civilization is built, you know. And it's like when you have the option for that, that's just like we have too much time on our hands. Fuck, we don't know what to do anymore. May as well.
I mean, like, I think it comes like from not necessarily like having too much time on their hands, but like per se, but like as if you have so much more people, you have so many roles that people don't feel comfortable in the roles that that are there. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
when you have such a massive population, right? Like for example, America does. America has a massive population with different types of jobs and schools and communities and people, cultures. One set of beliefs might not work for a lot of people. I'm not saying that's right, right? I believe
Sure.
in like standard, you know, gender roles, and I believe in like, nuclear families, right? But also like that might not be everyone, right? So I think as you get bigger, there becomes more room for more diversity, and people who feel like they don't fit into these roles or feel differently actually have room to expand into like other roles, right? When you
Mm.
have so many like so many people, right? You have a ton of like, traditional families, right? Eventually someone's going to be like, "Yeah, this isn't for me." Right? I feel differently. And then
It's
that
just
opens
because
up
they
a whole
have
nother world, right? They have that it's not so much that they're bored, but more that now they actually have the option. They have the
they have the
safety and security too,
they have the
right?
luxury, yeah, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like if we were in war, right, and you felt your country like, would that really be a good time to be like, "Hey, mom, dad, I'm gay," like, bro, like,
No, 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 no chance.
like,
Mom, dad, that was funny.
like, it's like I think it comes from. I'm not saying like what they feel is invalid. Like, if you're gay, you're gay, right? But I'm
Neither am
saying
I.
like feeling and being gay and like finally realizing, hey, this is what I identify as. Like this is what this is what I am. Right? That's a luxury that you have because of the security gained. Right? You have that freedom, that choice, because your society has developed to honor how you feel. Right?
Right.
Like like you don't need, right, to have this huge coming out thing and tell everyone and like that wouldn't be necessary, but you have the safety to, right? You have an option, right? There's gay
Mm.
people in Saudi Arabia. How many
Oh
gay
yeah,
people do you
there
know in
is.
Saudi Arabia?
Well,
Exactly.
yeah, I mean there is some I can assume, but like you know,
The
we don't
the
hear about it.
community exists because there's an opportunity for the community to exist. And whether you believe in it or not, that's the truth, right? They have that safety, they have that comfortability, they have that option. And I'm all for like taking my religious views aside or whatever I believe, right? Um, Whatever that may be, and saying, hey, you have the security to do what you want, what you feel, and how be what you want to be, right? I have no problem with that because I think it's a big testament of how far your country's been if you now have that security and luxury for those people to have that,
I
right?
see.
I just have a problem when you start having like requesting that people also respect it. You're not entitled to respect. It's all the
Right,
problem I
because
have.
it's like you need to take into account that like, well, this is how I feel, you know.
Exactly. Like
Because
if
right,
you
like if
feel like you're transgender, right, and you want to be a male and you're a female, right, and you're like, hey, I identify as whatever, right? You identify as Bob and he/him pronouns, right? That's fine. I don't care, right? Be what you want to be, bro. I don't care if you play dress up and go fishing at the local pond dressed as a bear or something, dude. I don't care. The only issue
that's
is if
good.
you then went to the government and was like, I demand that everyone respect the lifestyle I live.
Well,
That's my
right,
problem.
exactly. It's like no one's stopping you from doing that, but it's like
You want to go out
just
on the weekends and
accept.
fuck dudes or fuck girls? I don't care. I just don't want it mandated in government that people who might disagree with that because of religion have to.
Right, because if their whole point is that like everyone's entitled to like their own religion, their own beliefs. It's like, well, if my belief says this, then you have to respect that.
Exactly. So like if you identify as pronouns and say I don't know, like my religion says, hey, that's not legitimate, and I decide I'm not going to call you that, I don't think I should face punishment because of my beliefs,
Well, right.
because
That's
I'm
why.
being forced to respect someone else's while having mine disregarded. That's
Well, right.
always
It's like
that's the part. Like you have a right to your belief, your ideology, and to be who you want to be. But just like every right that you have, it stops when it infringes on someone else's right. And one of those rights is their religious right and the right to believe what they want to.
right. That's why like I have absolutely no problem with like the whole baker situation in Colorado, where he's like, I cannot make a cake with like two gay people like getting married. Like, I'm sorry. He's like, that's against my religion. You could go somewhere else and do it. Like, just please. Like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that I can't provide service to you, but that's just how it is. And it's like that's the same thing with like bringing in a hog to a kosher restaurant, or like or like doing something with like halal, or like if
Yeah, or like being angry because like they won't cook you pork at like a Muslim restaurant.
yeah, or
Yeah,
like being mad that like Mormons don't can't grow beards. It's like I don't have any problem with like people saying like I'm sorry, I can't do that. That's but it's against my religion.
like if you want to go like if because the punishment that like I don't think they should receive like legal punishment because like the punishment is they don't make the money from that sale, right? They're actively choosing to take the loss because of what they believe in, right? And you have every
Yeah,
right as the consumer to be like, okay, I'm going to go somewhere else, right? Forcing someone to do something that's against their beliefs is wrong and shouldn't be government mandated. And then
there's a lot of shit that
because,
shouldn't be government mandated.
well, that's what the Supreme Court is. So
Well, I think that's different. But well, like yeah,
it's kind of the same thing, but
um,
also kind of not the same thing depending on what they take.
it's really
Like,
complicated.
speaking of the Supreme Court, dude, they've been in some hot water, bro. Poor them.
Yeah, I know, but
They didn't even like. That's the thing. Like that's the only issue I have with the whole situation, right? Regardless of my beliefs, right? It doesn't matter to me, right? Because like taking my beliefs aside about whatever the topic is, like all 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 the Supreme Court said is, hey, I don't think it's up to the federal government to make this decision. Bro, I'm
right,
all
and that's
for the
why
federal government not having the right to make any decisions. Like, I don't want them to have a lot of power. So, even
right,
if
and
I
that's why
was
I like
anti the topic or
yeah,
pro the topic, I still don't want the federal government to have the power. So,
right.
like that's the only part. Like, people are upset with the Supreme Court, right? But
When
like,
they made it just to state by state, I'm like, depending on where you live in, these things couldn't even like affect you. Like,
technically, the ruling could allow them to become even more liberal with abortion laws,
yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I have this is a good thing.
right? So, like, and all it said was, and then everyone's like, the government has no right to regulate my body. That's crazy. That's what the Supreme Court just said. They just said,
Right.
hey, we don't think we
Exactly.
have the ability to regulate your body. I think we're going to leave it up to the elected officials that you choose in your state that you live in. And people were like, oh, so what you're doing is controlling me. Actually, they voted to do the exact opposite of what you just said.
Yep.
Like, even if you're, whatever your opinion is on the topic, right, they're still ruling that, hey, we should have less power. And I'm always for the government having less power,
Fuck the government,
right?
bro.
The Constitution and the way the founding fathers made this, and you heard it even in school, they made it because they wanted the federal government to not be as strong, and they wanted the states to be stronger, right? They wanted the states to have a good amount of power while having a strong centralized government, right?
Right.
It was never supposed to be this strong.
Yeah, the
So I'm
president has
all
so much more
for
power now than he did like, back in like George Washington's day.
like I'm all for the federal government leaving things up to the states because I think the states should have a lot more power than they should, and that is the original intent of America. That was the whole
Precisely.
idea. It was supposed to. Well, they started off as the states have all the power, and that didn't work. So they're like, we have to have a centralized government. So they did that, and they have a
Right,
strong
right.
centralized government, but there's still supposed to still be a good amount that the states get to choose, right? But now the federal government has a ton of power, so I'm all for them giving stuff back to the states, regardless of if I'm pro-life, pro-choice, whatever, pro-gun, anti-gun, whatever it is. Like, I'm all for the government, the federal government, not making that decision. I think it should go totally to the people and the people that you elect to represent your community.
Amen, brother.
Like,
Nobody's ever said it better. I must applaud
bro,
you for that.
if you want to be pro or anti whatever it is, vote. Use the system in
Yep.
support of what you want the government to protect, dude. You can't not participate in the system and expect the government to to do what you want. It's called, ready, representative republic, right? They represent you. You have to elect them so they
All
can
right, because
represent you.
without you, they can't get in power because they need you to get to elect them.
So like people will be like, well, my state banned this, right? Okay, when was the last time you voted? Oh, you didn't vote. Whoa, really? No wonder they're not voting in the way that you want them to vote, because you haven't been voting on issues that and candidates that support the way you believe. You've been voting because blue and red, and now you're paying for it because
Yeah,
you
I never actually really
elected
thought about it.
people who just go. You go with the color, right? Well, I don't like him
Right.
because he's red, so I'm gonna go with the blue guy, right? But there's so many other parties, so many other people who probably align with your political views way better. But those people don't have
Amen.
power, so you're not getting what you want because you want to play the color game instead of actually learning and bothering to actually educate yourself on who's actually representing you.
Amen, brother.
That's the problem. The problem isn't necessarily the government; it's the fact that two parties have power in a country that wasn't supposed to be the case. So now the country is weaker because the two-party system when it should be a multi-party system, which would make the government actually represent the people more.
George Washington said that political parties would fuck America, and then it would ruin it. Like he
It
warned
did.
about that in his farewell address. No, yeah, and it very much did.
I like think about it like this, right? If I go, here are your two options for dinner, right? And I name two shitty options, you're fucked. But if I go, here's what the options are for dinner, and I mention a bunch of shitty options, right? But there's also a few good ones, you're still winning, right? Because there's still good options, right?
Essentially, yes.
Like, even like, you know how many people I've talked to who are like, oh, I vote this way, I vote Democrat, I vote Republican, right? And I'm like, okay, well, tell me what you believe. And they're like, pretty much in the center. It's like, what are you doing, bro? These people don't.
Yeah, that's a good
These
point. I mean,
these people don't represent your interests, bro. What are you
I mean for
doing?
for me, it's just I just look at it as like, who do I need? What do I value right as like a Christian, and I vote from there. That's essentially how I look at it.
Yeah, but like the people who have these values, like, well, I'm pro gun sometimes and this thing, but I also believe that this is also what happens. You know, there's politicians who believe like you, and they're willing to pass legislation for people like you, right? Like
Libertarians, man.
we have one party that's going all guns, every gun, always, everywhere, everyone, and then one party that's going absolutely no guns, nowhere, never, no one can have them, and everyone in America is like, well, can't we get in the middle? And both parties like, wait, fucking stupid, like. Why don't
Because
you?
it's like if these two parties like actually like if they take off these labels, like they'd realize like how much they actually agree with one another. You know.
Yeah, I think people they go to the media, they go to their politicians. Their politicians are like, man, these people don't care about you, while also not caring about you. And then you look at the other
Right.
side, and
It's
they do
like
the same exact thing, and it's like, bro, that's why you have two parties. You have two shitty options, right? Like the whole like Biden versus Trump election, and it's like every Democrat's like, well, Biden's a shitty pick, but Trump's the shittier pick, and it's
right.
like
It's always
every
just going to be
Republican's
the
like,
lesser of two
Trump's
evils. Yeah.
Trump's not the best, but Biden's kind of an idiot, so I'm not going to vote for him either. And it's like,
It's
bro, you
always the
realize
not the
we
best. Yeah.
have like prior elections in which you can actually vote on other people, right? And then even in the primary, there's still other people you can vote for. Shit, if you wanted to vote for fucking Kanye West, you could have.
Right. We should have done that.
Shit. Like,
Yeah.
at least our president would have dropped the Fire album. It's like people are like,
Right.
they're like, they see red and blue, and it's like, you don't realize how many different colors there fucking is.
True.
Colors
That
that
is
align with what you believe way more. And
Book of Ethan. Yeah.
people are
The
just
Book of
dumb. And
Ethan.
it's mainly laziness, dude.
Dude, have you ever thought about writing?
Writing.
I think you'd be an excellent writer.
I've thought about, like, afterward, like after the army, getting into like politics and like like harder topics, and like I don't know if it would be like working for like a media company, or if it would be like working for like a political thing, but like actually making the effort to show people that they're not being fucking intelligent.
Right.
Like just a
Dude,
place where I
actually,
could rip everyone apart, every single person.
yeah, that's the dream, isn't it?
Like, give me a platform, I promise you, I could show y'all how stupid you are.
I got this right now, dude. You're on my
And it's
podcast.
and it's like, especially like like for example, like abortion, right? So many people are like, well, I think it should only have like abortion should only be allowed in cases of like rape, incest, and medical necessity. That's crazy because the other side also is willing to compromise on that. You know who isn't willing to compromise on that? Your politicians. Your most polarized side, right? Because there's a lot of Democrats who are like, I'm fine if we just allow it in these extreme cases. And there's a lot of conservatives who are like, hey, I'd be willing to compromise, right? But
Sure. Yeah, there's just people where it's
both
like,
their
it's
parties
okay
are
in
just
this, but not that.
both their parties are so extreme that neither of them would compromise. And so people
Yeah.
will suffer and be upset and be mad at each other because they elected shitty politicians.
Yeah. Well, so dude, I'm actually sorry, but I mean, it's kind of getting really late.
Yeah, I
Um,
get that.
but no, I'm telling you, dude, was fucking loving this podcast. Like I did, because I didn't know what to expect. You know, I hadn't talked to you in like God knows how long. So like, I was just really curious to see like what you're doing, and like it's cool to hear someone. I mean, we generally have the same values, but I'm sure there's some things that like don't exactly land. But it's like always nice to speak to people because I like having 2.5 long hour conversations. You know, because you don't always get to do that. And it's a very nice luxury that we have. It was a pleasure talking to you, dude.
Of course, man.
Yeah. Oh, also remember to like you were recording this, right?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
I'm
that
gonna
was
pause
fun.
it now.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening to us. If you enjoyed Ethan, I can definitely have him back on. Yeah. Just I'll give you guys what you want. Yep. Got him. Yep. Well, yeah. Mom and dad, I'm gay. It definitely is. Well, I don't really get comments, but it's fine. So maybe we'll get some this time. The most viewed podcast was like a few episodes ago. It got like 180 something views. It's typically that guy Jason. I know him from here in Virginia. I met him at a guitar store. He's a really cool guy. I did one with Carlos. You know, you remember Carlos, right? Yeah, I did one with him. It was all in Spanish. Um, yeah, if you want to go look at my videos, it's in there. I did one with another one of my friends here, but it's typically. Oh, I also did one with Mark Munoz. I don't know if you know him. He's from New Orleans. Nah, dude. I mean, he's right. I think he has a point. I had him on my podcast. If you actually want to listen to like what he has to say, you can listen to the episode I had with him. Yeah, Right. I mean, well, there's other things that like we right, but I'm sure there's things that you and me would both not agree on. You know. Right. That would actually be fun. I was right, and neither are you. I can assume. Well, true. Well, we can talk about a lot of these stuff and whatnot in future episodes. I hope you guys enjoy. Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. I'm always here. I don't go to school. I just work, so I got some free time on the weekends. Do nothing. Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. It was nice having you on, Ethan. Yeah, you got it. Bye.